Chapter 18. Dihan, watch out! Dihua and Ditian shouted at the same time. Neither of them knew why Lu Ling was so calm, nor did they know what she was relying on. However, when they saw the blush on Lu Ling's face, they somehow remembered that dusk 5 years ago when Lu Ling also looked like this. Both of them had a bad feeling about this. Sister, Luli shouted and rushed towards Lu Ling. However, he was still some distance away from Lu Ling, while Dihan was only 3 feet away from Lu Ling. As Dihan got closer, Lu Ling's face became redder and redder, like a coquettish fox. Dihan's heart was beating fast. Dihan hesitated because of Dihua and Ditian's shouts. However, Lu Ling was right in front of him, and Luli was fast approaching. If he could not injure Lu Ling, he might be killed by a furious Luli. Crazy woman, who are you trying to scare? Dihan roared and continued to rush forward. Before he could finish his sentence, his pupils suddenly shrank and his body retreated in fear. He saw Lu Ling raise one of her hands and a black dot shot out from her sleeve. The black dot was so fast that it was enlarging in his eyes. Also, there was a dim glow on the black dot. Needless to say, it was something fatal. Bang! No matter how fast he retreated, he was not as fast as the black dot. He wanted to block it with his saber, but he found it was too late. The black dot enlarged in his pupils and disappeared between his eyebrows in an instant. Boom! Dihan stopped retreating. He trembled on the spot and fell to the ground. There was a black arrow in between Dihan's eyebrows. Half of the arrow went into his bone, and the dim glow was shining on it. Dihan died instantly. Hiss! Apart from the faint gasps, there was dead silence in the wilderness. Everyone looked at Dihan, who was no longer breathing. They looked at the pair of eyes that were wide open and filled with fear. They looked at the black blood that was overflowing from the crossbow arrow. A kind of fear surged from the deepest part of their souls. Luli was the same. He had killed many beasts and some Xian beasts, but he had never killed a human, not to mention in the tribe. Lu Ling, a weak girl who had never killed a chicken, dared to kill someone in public today? Brother Han, a young man, came to his senses and roared as he ran over. He held Dihan in his arms and was about to retreat into the distance. He wanted to rescue Dihan. Don't waste your energy. Dihan is already dead. The arrow is highly poisonous, the poison of the Inyang grass. Haven't you heard of the saying that the Inyang grass in the middle is separated from the yin and yang? A soft and emotionless voice was heard. Lu Ling had spoken. Her face was still very rosy and as beautiful as a flower. She was so beautiful that no one dared to look at her directly. At this moment, many people did not dare to look at her directly. To be able to kill so decisively and still be so calm afterward, was she still human? This woman is crazy. You crazy woman. How dare you kill my brother Han? I will tear you apart. The young man holding Dihan in his arms went crazy. He rushed toward Lu Ling like a wild beast. Finally, Luli came to his senses and approached Lu Ling quickly. Lu Ling slowly raised her hand, revealing a small black mechanical crossbow. She looked at the young man coldly and said, "This is the death-seeking crossbow. It took me 3 years to make. The speed of the crossbow bolts is as fast as a full power attack of a warrior of the Spirit Sea realm. The bolts are coated with poison. Anyone who dares to come within 2 meters of me will die for sure. If you don't believe me, you can have a try." The young man stopped and dared not to take another step forward. Dihan was at the peak of the Xianwu realm, but he was only at the initial stage of the Xianwu realm. If he rushed over, he would only be courting death. 3 years. Inyang grass. Luli remembered something. 3 years ago, Lu Ling did make some small things. She cut wood for a month when she was bored, but when he asked her, she said it was just for fun. 1 year ago, she even asked him to take her to pick some herbs. It turned out that it was the poisonous Inyang grass. Even though I cannot cultivate Xian energy, I still have the ability to protect myself. Whoever dares to mess with me, I will make them regret being born. Luli remembered that when he injured Di Hu and the other two and went back to the tribe to visit Lu Ling, she said this. Now it seemed that she did have the ability to protect herself. Warriors who were not at the Spirit Sea realm would die if they approached her. However, at this moment, Luli felt that Lu Ling was so strange. She was not like that kind and weak sister at all. Even he dared not to kill, let alone stay so calm after killing. Honor! Right at that moment, a sorrowful cry came from afar. An old man walked over in strides with several people. These people were the patriarchs who stayed behind to guard the tribe. They were old, and their combat abilities were not as good as the younger ones. That was why they did not go to the ice abyss with Ba to guard. Han had died a tragic death. Naturally, these people could not sit back and do nothing. Han was the grandson of one of the patriarchs. The several old men walked over in strides. One of them, a silver-haired one-armed old man, was furious. He pointed at Lu Ling with one hand and said, "What a vicious little girl. We are all from the tribe, but how dare you to be so cruel and heartless? Heaven and earth cannot tolerate it. Heaven and earth cannot tolerate it." That's right. Bastards are bastards. The tribe has raised them for more than a decade in vain. They really are two ungrateful wretches. We should have fed them to the beasts when they were little. Kill them and avenge Han. The group of old men kept on cursing. Some old women wanted to rush over, but were stopped by other old men. A big fight could break out here at any time. It would be even more chaotic if a bunch of old women came. Luli looked forward with a solemn expression. Even though the realm of these old men was not high, only at the middle stage or the later stage of the Xianwu realm, they had all climbed out of a pile of corpses. The other three had high prestige in the tribe. Luli was afraid to fight with them. Lu Ling ignored the group of cursing elders. She looked at Luli and said, "Today is the first lesson for you before you step into the door of Wu Dao. You must be cruel and merciless to your enemies and show no mercy. Look at this group of people." Lu Ling pointed at the group of people in front of them with her crossbow and said, "Look at them. When did they ever treat us as their own people? And when did they ever treat us as human beings? If it were not for sixth granduncle, do you think we would still be alive? To your brothers, you could do anything at all costs. To your loved ones, you can give up everything. To your enemies, you must be cold-blooded and merciless. Once you make a move, you must kill them all. The path of Wu Dao is the path of killing. If you want to be a powerful warrior, to be a city lord, a region lord, or even a human sovereign, you must step on countless dead bodies to get to that position. You will have to step on countless corpses to rise to the top. It has always been like this. Do you understand? A man should kill and kill without mercy. The everlasting cause is all in killing. Once upon a time, there were heroic men who kept their promises with the spirit of brotherhood. Killing with a glare is lighter than a feather. There were heroes and tyrants who killed in a mess. With that said, Lu Ling pointed at Tian and the several old men with her crossbow and said, "These people in front of you are all your enemies. They should all be killed. A man should kill." Lu Li's eyes glowed with a red light. He lifted up his saber. However, he was not so determined. After all, he was going to kill people, living people, not beasts or Xin beasts. Crazy woman. Dihua didn't dare to look into Lu Ling's eyes. He turned his head away and cursed, but he didn't dare to make a move right away. "Aha, crazy woman." A sad but beautiful smile appeared on Lu Ling's face. She turned to Lu Li, whose eyes were flickering, and said, "Brother, do you know why they always call me crazy? Do you know why I have a lame leg? Do you know why I spent 3 years to make this death-seeking crossbow? It was all Dihua and Tian's doing. Even if I am crazy, they're the ones who made me crazy." Ah, Lu Li was stunned. Lu Ling broke her leg 5 years ago. He was only 10 years old at that time. Lu Ling went to the mountain to collect herbs by herself for 5 or 6 days. Lu Li was so worried that he went crazy. He searched all over the mountain for her. After several days, Lu Ling crawled back with her broken leg. However, Lu Ling didn't say much. She only said that she broke her leg while collecting herbs. She didn't expect that it had something to do with Dihua and Tian. Ha. Lu Ling looked at Dihua and Tian, who lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at her directly. she said in a low voice. 5 years ago, I went to the mountain to collect herbs. These two bastards wanted to rape me. If I didn't jump off the cliff, my chastity would have been ruined by them. Luli, do you know how perverted these two are? I jumped off the cliff and broke my leg, but they still wouldn't let me go. If I didn't cut off 5 pieces of flesh from my thigh with a dagger and eat them piece by piece to scare them away, I don't think I would have made it back. It was suddenly bent over and vomited. Many young people's expressions changed. They had a strong urge to throw up. Eating her own thigh? This woman was really crazy. Tian was also disgusted. He and Dihua could never forget that dusk 5 years ago. Lu Ling cut the flesh with a smile. She chewed and swallowed piece by piece. Her lips that were dripping blood were filled with an intoxicating smile. Chapter 19. Dihua Tian. Lu Li's eyes became bloodshot. Lu Ling never told him about this. Nobody in the tribe liked him, not to mention telling him about this. Maybe not even the average people knew about this. Look at these sanctimonious old dogs. Lu Ling pointed to the one-armed old man and the others and said again, I came back to heal my wounds, but my leg is crippled. I wanted Iba and these people to ask for justice. Brother, do you know what they said? They said that young people are not sensible, so they can be forgiven. They gave me 10 golden leaves to heal my wounds, and they didn't even apologize. Lu Li's eyes were about to burst into flames. He was almost raped. A beautiful girl became a cripple, and 10 golden leaves was enough to appease her. The one-armed old man and the others looked embarrassed. They were disgraced to have this matter spoken out in front of so many people. The one-armed old man thought about it and said, Lu Ling, it is true that Dihua and Tian were wrong back then, but you shouldn't have killed people today. Shut up. Lu Ling interrupted the old man and shouted, Old dog, where were you when Han wanted to break my brother's leg and kill me? If we didn't have some means, we would be the ones lying on the ground now. If we were dead, would you say that they were young and immature? The one-armed old man said nothing. He was about to say something when Lu Ling continued. Old dog, don't pretend. You had a part in my grandpa's death, didn't you? Was your hand cut off by my grandpa? You all should have a part in it, right? And Ba, he is the main culprit. What? Everyone was in an uproar. Many people were gathered around the stone house. All of them were moved by the shocking news. Lu Ling's grandpa was the former chief. He brought a group of powerful warriors to the periphery of the ice abyss, but they all died tragically. Now Lu Ling said that it was Ba and the one-armed old man who did it? Nonsense. The one-armed old man shouted in rage. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with us. Your grandpa deserved it. Ha ha. Lu Ling laughed out loud. Her body trembled. She looked at Lu Li and said, See, he is guilty. Lu Li, when you have the ability, you must find out who killed my grandpa and the others. Don't let anyone go. Lu Li nodded heavily. He stared at Dihua and Tian. His killing intent was condensing and his momentum was rising. He was like a sword that was about to be unsheathed, ready to kill all his enemies. That's right, enemies. At this moment, Lu Li had regarded everyone in front of him as his enemies. Dihua and Tian were people he must kill. Don't let a single one go. The one-armed old man snorted coldly. He looked at Dihua and the rest and sneered. Do you think you can walk out of the tribe alive today? Not only did he kill Han in broad daylight, but he was also so insane. The Long tribe wouldn't have a peaceful day if you and your brother escaped. Dihua Tian attack. Kill these 2 siblings. Just you guys. She tied the bundle on the ground to her back. Leaning on her walking stick, she said to Lu Li, Brother, take your saber and take me to kill our way out of the tribe. Kill anyone who dares to stop us. All right, we'll kill anyone who dares to stop us. Lu Li roared. He stood in front of Lu Ling and walked forward step by step. Dihua, Tian, and the one-armed old man were powerful, but at this moment, Lu Li had no fear at all. Behind him was his dearest and most beloved sister. He had no way out. The only thing he could do was to fight his way out with his saber. The blade was sharp to the bone. He had to fight. His back was against the river. If he could not win, he would die. Kill. Dihua and Ditian looked at each other. The appearance of the one-armed old man had boosted their confidence. What was there to be afraid of, with so many elders watching? If they could not kill Lu Ling, the two would continue to be haunted by nightmares. If they could not kill Lu Li, he would become a powerful enemy in the future, bringing endless troubles. Kill! Several young men moved, but they didn't dare to get too close. Lu Ling had said that the shooting range of her death-seeking crossbow was 6 feet, and its speed was comparable to a full-force strike of a warrior of the Spirit Sea realm. Even Di Han could not dodge it, let alone them. Di Lu, get the shields! Di was shouted. A young man in the distance immediately ran away. In just a blink of an eye, he came back with 5 bronze shields on his back. He threw them to Dihua, Ditian, and the other 2 young men at the middle stage of the Xianwu realm. With the shields in their hands, Dihua and the others were filled with confidence. They surrounded Lu Li and Lu Ling without any fear. Lu Li's expression did not change. He walked forward step by step with his saber in his hands. He ignored the others and only stared at Dihua. Lu Li, don't worry about me. Just do it. I promise you that I will bring you to flatten the Di Long tribe today. Lu Ling shouted. She stopped in the distance. Lu Li shouted in a deep voice and dashed forward. Both of his legs stomped heavily on the ground, causing the bluestone slabs on the ground to crack. His body leaped more than a meter into the air, and with great momentum, he brandished his saber with both hands and fiercely chopped down on Dihua's shield. Go to hell! Ditian, who was on the side, made his move. His long saber transformed into shadows of the saber and twisted towards Lu Li like a poisonous dragon. However, as soon as he moved, he suddenly felt something was wrong. His speed had slowed down a bit. Bang! Lu Li's saber smashed on the shield with tremendous force. A muffled sound of gold and iron colliding came out, and sparks flew everywhere. In the astonished eyes of countless people, Dihua was smashed away together with his shield. Ow! The one-armed old man and the other elders were shocked. Dihua was at the peak of the Xianwu realm and was about to make it to the Spirit Sea realm. How could he be smashed away by Lu Li, who had no Xian energy? Swish! After Lu Li smashed away Dihua, he turned around with one leg, swung his saber backward, and smashed at Ditian's head. Ditian was shocked. He found that his attacking speed had been greatly reduced. At this moment of life and death, he could only hold up his shield to defend. Bang! Just like Dihua, Ditian, who was at the peak of the Xianwu realm, was also smashed away. He was smashed away along with his shield for more than 30 feet. He smashed into a dirt wall in the distance. The dirt wall collapsed and buried Ditian alive. What is going on? Many young men were about to attack Lu Li, but they were scared. Did Lu Li hide his fighting capacity? Or did Dihua and Ditian become weaker? Xian energy at the peak of the Xianwu realm could exert more than 11,000 pounds of strength. Even if Lu Li did, how could there be such a huge gap? My Xian energy is messed up. I think I am poisoned. Dio crawled up. His handsome face was covered with blood. He looked at the one-armed old man in surprise, hoping to get an answer. The one-armed old man frowned. He secretly mobilized his Xian energy and found that his Xian energy was also messed up. He rolled his eyes and suddenly remembered something. He looked towards Lu Li's stone house and shouted in a deep voice, "No, this smoke is poisonous." It might have burned the purple corrosion grass. The purple corrosion grass. Everyone had heard of it. It was the main ingredient of the Xian erosion pellet. The Xian erosion pellet was a poisonous pellet that could mess up Xian energy. Huh, you found out too late. Lu Ling smiled gently. Her pretty eyes glowed with a cunning light. She was not crazy. She burned her own house at will. She might not cut off her own path of retreat, but at least she had destroyed their childhood memories. Of course, she did it for a reason. She had been preparing for today. She wanted to wait for Lu Li to awaken his bloodline before she made her move. She did not expect that Dihua and Ditian would come back in advance. She had to act earlier. The smoke of the purple corrosion grass could mess up the Xian energy of all warriors. Lu Li did not have any Xian energy, and he had drunk the detoxifying tea in advance. He had a 70% to 80% chance of defeating a group of warriors whose Xian energy was messed up and whose fighting capacity was greatly reduced. Chapter 20. Kill. Luli shouted and rushed forward with his saber. His target was still Dihua. He was so fast that in the time for a few breaths, he was already in front of Dihua. Luli swung his saber and cut at Dihua's head. Attack! Kill these two little bastards! The one-armed old man shouted angrily. He grabbed a steel saber from an old man next to him and took the lead to rush towards Luli. The Xian energy of Dihua and the others was in a mess. Due to their young age and lack of experience, they could not keep calm. Their combat ability was greatly reduced. If they did not make a move, nobody could suppress Luli. Clank, clank, clank. By the time the one-armed old man and the other three old men, with relatively stronger combat abilities, arrived, Luli had already cut for more than a dozen times. Dihua held up the shield with both of his hands and squatted down. Bang! However, after being cut by Luli for more than a dozen times, the shield could not stand it anymore. It split in the middle and was split into two. Dihua saw a flash of saber light. He was so scared that he rolled on the ground and barely dodged Luli's saber. The one-armed old man and the other three old men rushed forward. They were the patriarchs of the tribe. They were over 60 years old, the same generation as Luli's grandpa. Even though they had been stuck at the Xianwu realm for their entire lives, their fighting experience could not be compared with Dihua and the others. Luli felt the pressure as soon as the four of them rushed towards him. The sky was full of saber light. He was almost hit several times. He had to retreat first. Otherwise, he would be easily injured if he was surrounded by the four of them. Once he was injured, his combat ability would be greatly reduced. Bang! Dition rushed out from the dirt wall. Luli happened to be retreating quickly. The distance between the two was not far. Luli turned around and rushed towards Dition. He swung his saber and cut at Dition. Dition was buried alive by the dirt wall. He was in a sorry state. There were bruises and bloodstains on his head and body. Seeing Luli coming at him with his saber, Dition raised his saber out of instinct to block. Okay, Luli liked it when others blocked. He waved his saber and cut for 7 or 8 times in a row. The powerful force knocked away Dition's saber. He knelt on the ground. Dition watched helplessly as Luli cut at him with his saber. At the last moment, Luli was afraid to make a move, because if he did, Dition would be killed by him. A man should kill. Luli, kill Dition. Lu Ling shouted. A red glare flashed in Luli's eyes. He closed his eyes and swung his saber at Dition's head. Bang! The saber landed on Dition's neck. His head flew up. Blood gushed out and sprayed all over Luli's hands and body. Luli felt something wet in his hands. He opened his eyes and saw a headless body falling down slowly. Then, he saw Dition's head rolling on the ground. Luli trembled all over and almost threw up. Dition, the 4 old men who were rapidly approaching from afar roared in grief. The one-armed old man was even more furious. Dition was his grandnephew. Dition shouted into the sky, Luli, if I don't kill you today, I am not a man. Luli, don't just stand there. Otherwise, we will die here today. Charge, Lu Ling shouted. Luli suppressed the urge to vomit and forced himself not to look at Dition's body. He looked at the 4 old men who were rushing towards him. Maybe it was because he had just killed a man. The hostility that had been hidden in Luli's body for years burst out. He trembled for a moment and then calmed down. Lu Ling's words reminded him that if he didn't win today, both sister and brother would die. Luli suddenly became very calm. There was only one thought in his mind, which was to kill all the enemies in his way. Old dog, if you want to kill me, let's see if you have the ability. Luli shouted in a deep voice. Instead of retreating, he moved forward. He jumped up and cut at the face of the one-armed old man who was at the front with his saber in his hands. Old dog, I will shoot you to death. Lu Ling shouted cooperatively. The one-armed old man looked at Lu Ling out of instinct, only to find that he was fooled. Lu Ling didn't even come close. Because of this look, he had lost the chance to dodge and fight back. Lu Li's saber was already in front of him. He had to lift his saber to block. Oh no! The three old men who were following closely said to themselves that things were not going well. The one-armed old man only had one hand. How could he stop Lu Li, who had more than 11,000 pounds of strength? Sure enough, Lu Li smashed the one-armed old man away with one move. His saber was knocked away, and there was a deep cut on his chest. His bones were visible. The one-armed old man might be experienced in fighting, but he was only at the Xianwu realm. What was more, his Xian energy was disordered and his strength was reduced. He only had one hand. How could he stop Lu Li's full force? Fourth brother, the three old men shouted in surprise. They looked back with worry. Lu Li didn't stop. He raised his saber and cut at the nearest old man. Bang! Another old man was smashed away. This one was even worse. His shoulder was cut by Lu Li, and one of his arms was almost cut off. The other two old men looked at each other. They had to make up their minds and join hands, one on the left and the other on the right. Their sabers were like poisonous snakes, aiming at Lu Li's left and right arms respectively. Lu Li could not attend to one and lose sight of the other. Lu Li lifted his saber to block. The two old men cooperated well with each other and were experienced in fighting. Even though their Xian energy was disordered, their attacks were sharp. For several times, Lu Li was almost hit. He had to move back while blocking. Lu Li, I'm going to kill you and avenge Di Tian. Di Hua rushed over from the distance. Even though his Xian energy was disordered and his fighting capacity was greatly reduced, Lu Li was already having a hard time defending against the two old men's attacks. If Di Hua joined the fray, it would be easy for the three to kill Lu Li. Lu Ling, who was behind Di Hua, frowned, but she dared not to move. There were three young men in front of her with shields. Powerful as her crossbow arrows were, they could not penetrate the shields. If she didn't move, the three young men would not dare to do anything. But if she forced herself to help Lu Li, the three of them would not sit by and do nothing. Avenge Di Tian? On hearing this, Lu Li remembered how he smashed away the red phosphorus hawks with the ancient coffin during the beast upheaval. He suddenly made several moves and forced the two old men to step back. Then he jumped behind a collapsed dirt wall. Then, amidst the angry curses of countless people, Lu Li came back with one leg of Di Tian's body in one hand. He swung Di Tian's body around with one hand and swung his saber with the other. The two old men were dumbfounded. They were over 60 years old and had fought many fierce battles. It was the first time they saw such a way of fighting. Lu Li was using their grandnephew's body as a shield. How could they attack? Was Lu Li not afraid of being haunted by ghosts by desecrating the body? Lu Li was not afraid of this at all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to carry coffins. Influenced by Lu Ling, he was not afraid of ghosts or gods. Now that he was about to be killed, how could he care so much? Bang! Di Hua and the two old men dared not to attack randomly, but Lu Li did not care. He smashed one of the old men away and even cut off one of the old man's hands. That bloody hand danced in the air. Blood splashed all over Di Hua's face. Taking advantage of Di Hua's confusion, Lu Li cut his thigh with a backhand move. Di Hua was so scared that he rolled away. The other old man did not dare to attack and quickly retreated. The situation was under Lu Li's control. Run! Seeing that Lu Li was rushing towards him with killing intent, Di Hua was scared. He did not want to become a headless corpse like Di Tian. He roared, Di Lu, get Lu Ling, or else we are all doomed. While Lu Li was looking back, Di Hua limped away, disregarding the blood coming out from his thigh. He disappeared into the group of stone houses. Lu Li was furious, but he dared not to chase after him. There were so many stone houses. It would take some time to find Di Hua. There were so many warriors here. What if Lu Ling was injured or killed? He saw Di Lu and the other two standing in front of Lu Ling, ready to make a move. Having no time to worry about the remaining old man, Di Hua threw Di Tian's body away and ran towards Lu Ling. He shouted angrily, F*** CK off or die. Because Lu Li was swinging Di Tian's body, He was covered in blood. On top of that, he had wounded several patriarchs in a row and killed Di Tian. In the eyes of Di Lu and the other patriarchs, Lu Li was a murderous demon. They dared not to act recklessly after Lu Li shouted at them. They hurriedly retreated to the sides. Lu Li rushed to Lu Ling and supported her with one hand. He glanced over to the nearby people and coldly said, "Sis, let's go. Let's see who dares to stand in our way." "Very well, let's go." Chapter 21. Diba took away all the adult warriors in the tribe, even the warriors in their 50s. After all, the more people that went, the more rewards they could get. Diba believed that there was no danger in guarding the perimeter of the ice abyss. Therefore, there were only some old, weak, women, and disabled people left in the tribe. The most powerful ones were the one-armed old man and some young people brought back by Di Hua, Di Tian, and Di Han. At this moment, Di Hua escaped. Di Han was shot to death by Lu Ling, and Di Tian was beheaded by Lu Li. There was a wound on the chest to the one-armed old man that was so deep that his bones could be seen. This was not a big deal when he was young, but before he was over 60 years old, this injury could be fatal. There were 3 other old men. One was seriously injured, one had his arm cut off, and the last one was scared out of his wits. As for the more than a dozen young people like Di Lu, they did not even dare to move. All the warriors in the tribe were shocked by Lu Ling and Lu Li. Further away, many old maids and old ladies were scared out of their wits. These were all average ladies with no fighting capacity and no guts. Many people did not dare to look at them anymore. Only a few old maids were crying. Some older kids were so scared that they ran back to their own homes. Lu Li held the saber, dripping with blood in one hand, and his sister in the other. Lu Ling had a smile on her face. The life-seeking crossbow in her sleeve that was rolled up by Lu Li was ready to shoot at any time. She limped forward with the help of her crutch in her other hand. "Why are you crying?" The one-armed old man stood up while enduring the pain in his chest. He shouted at the old maids. The whole place quieted down. It was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Only the sound of Lu Li and his sister moving forward and the sound of blood dripping from Lu Li's saber could be heard. Soon, Lu Li reached in front of the one-armed old man. The other old men retreated to this side with their sabers in their hands, not far behind the one-armed old man. Lu Li stopped, pointed his saber at the one-armed old man, and said, "Old dog, are you going to make way or not? What if I don't?" The one-armed old man was a tough guy. He stared at Lu Li angrily. He was not convinced. If it were not for the poison of the purple erosion grass, how could Lu Li, a loser who could not even cultivate Xian energy, hurt him? Today, Lu Li and Lu Ling went on a killing spree and dyed the Di Long tribe with blood. If he let them go so easily, the one-armed old man would feel humiliated. The prestige he had built up in the tribe over the years would be gone. He was Di Ba's uncle. Since Di Ba was not in the tribe, he had become the leader of the tribe. If he retreated, Di Han and Di Tian would have died in vain. "If you don't, then die," Lu Li bellowed. He let go of Lu Ling's hand and dashed forward like a leopard. His eyes were bloodshot. Since he had already killed Di Tian, he did not mind killing a few more. Lu Ling said that the one-armed old man might be the murderer of her grandpa. Whether it was true or not, Lu Ling was almost raped and her leg was broken. She came back to seek justice from the one-armed old man. However, he was only given 10 golden leaves. This was unacceptable to Lu Li. Di Hua's actions today were obviously instructed by a few people. This one-armed old man had wanted to kill him just now, and now he was blocking their way. So he was an enemy. When dealing with enemies, Lu Ling said that one must be cruel and merciless. These were the only words in Lu Li's mind at the moment. He rushed towards the one-armed old man. Streaks of dazzling sword light came out from his long saber and hacked at the one-armed old man. Clank, with a muffled sound of explosion, the one-armed old man was injured. His Xian energy was in a mess, so there was no way he could defend himself. His long saber was smashed away, and he was forced to step back. Lu Li's eyes were as cold as a beast's. He chased after the one-armed old man with his saber raised high, ready to hack at him at any moment. He stared at the one-armed old man and shouted, "Are you going to let me go or not?" The one-armed old man was indeed a tough guy. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "No, you bastard. Kill me if you have the guts." Ba is already the external clan patriarch of his Zhao family. When he comes back, you and your sister will be torn into pieces, and your bodies will be left in the wild. Go to hell. Lu Li roared and hacked at the one-armed old man forcefully with his saber. The one-armed old man was smashed away for more than 30 feet. Blood gushed out from his chest. His chest and abdomen were cut open. Clearly, he could not survive. Fourth brother, the other old men, and those near the stone house all shouted in alarm and surrounded the one-armed old man. Lu Li looked back to Lu Ling, and the latter went after him at once. Lu Li walked forward step by step with his blood-dripping saber in his hand. When he was about 10 feet away from the one-armed old man's body, he stopped again. Pointing his saber at the group of old men, he said, "You are all old. You don't have many more years to live. I don't want to kill any more people today. If you don't want to die, get out of my way." The 5 or 6 old men all turned around and looked at Lu Li with hatred and resentment in their eyes. However, none of them dared to say anything, let alone make a move. "I will take 10 steps forward. If you don't get out of my way, then don't blame me for being merciless." Lu Li walked forward step by step. The murderous intent in his eyes was getting more and more intense. At the 5th step, someone finally got scared. An old man took the lead and stepped to the side. With someone taking the lead, the others followed suit. Nobody wanted to die. Nobody was a match for Lu Li now. They could only wait for Ba to come back and get revenge. However, there was one old man who didn't step back. He was the one whose arm was cut off by Lu Li and was almost chopped off. He was the cousin of the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man was killed, so his eyes were filled with red light. Not only did he not step back, but he also rushed towards Lu Li with a roar. "Brother 7, several old men shouted in alarm. Lu Li's eyes turned red, and he rushed forward in rage. He swung his saber at the old man with a force of more than 11,000 pounds. How could the old man, who was already injured, defend himself? Bang! The old man was smashed away together with his saber. Half of his body was badly mutilated. Another one died. Who else? Lu Li swung his saber and glanced at the old men nearby with cold eyes. At this moment, he had completely turned into a killing maniac. He would kill anyone who dared to stand in his way. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. Nobody dared to stand out anymore. Some young men were so scared that their legs were trembling. They looked at Lu Li like he was a ghost. Lu Li led Lu Ling through the crowd with ease and walked towards the front gate of the tribe. As soon as they walked out of the tribe, they heard some curses coming from behind. "Lu Li, you are out of your mind. You will die a horrible death. You too, bastards. When the chief comes back, he will tear you into pieces even if you run to the ends of the earth. Yes, send someone to the chief right now. We must cut this pair of unpardonable siblings into pieces. These two deserve to die 1,000 times." Waves of curses came along with some heart-wrenching cries of some old maids. Lu Li stopped with a frown. He looked back but said nothing. Lu Ling, on the other hand, glanced over the crowd and said in a cold voice, "We are going to the Wuling County. You can ask Ba to go to the Wuling County to seek revenge on us. My sister and I killed someone today. If your tribe can kill us, then it is your own capability. We will not complain. Also, later, we will look into the death of my grandpa in detail. If it really has something to do with the tribe, I promise that none of the people involved will be spared. Also, take good care of our 6th granduncle. If anyone dares to vent his anger on him because of this, as long as my sister and I are alive, we will wipe out his entire family in the future." With that said, Lu Ling turned around and walked forward on her walking stick. Lu Li quickly helped her to leave. Once again, everyone felt cold. Before, they could take Lu Ling's words as a joke. But after today, nobody dared to look down on this girl, and that good-for-nothing Lu Li who could not even cultivate Xian energy. As he watched the siblings leave, an old man shed tears and murmured with a face full of regret. Today's calamity should have been fated to happen. We should not have treated them like this. and we should not have done the wrong thing. How can Lu Renwang's children be good-for-nothings? Brother 11, what nonsense are you talking about? Another elder scolded. These two bastards are ungrateful. If it were up to me, we should have cut the weeds and wiped out the roots. Otherwise, we would not have today's disaster. We have to inform the chief about this as soon as possible and go after the sister and brother immediately. Violence is not allowed in the Wuling County. Once they enter the county, there will be trouble. What are you afraid of? An elder snorted. It is true that violence is not allowed in the Wuling County. This is the rules set by the Lu family. But it is different now. The Lu family has suffered a great change, and their strength has been greatly reduced. Now, the Zhao family can compete with the Lu family. Bar is the external clan patriarch of the Zhao family. Isn't it a piece of cake for him to kill the sister and brother? Yes, yes, yes. An elder nodded. Then he shouted to Di Lu and the others, You bastards, what are you standing there for? Go and report to the chief now. Ask him to send someone to kill the two bastards. Yes. Chapter 22. In the wilderness, Lu Li carried Lu Ling on his back and ran in strides. He didn't feel anything before, but now he felt cold. He had killed 3 people, and this was his first time killing someone. He felt a little dizzy. Lu Ling didn't try to comfort him. Every warrior had to go through this. Lu Li needed to resolve the knot in his heart by himself. As a matter of fact, even though Lu Ling had been acting calm, she was a delicate girl after all. It was hard for her to stay calm. The 2 siblings silently ran on the mountain path. The journey was indeed very safe. The 2 of them ran for more than 20 miles, but they did not encounter any profound beasts or wild beasts. Let's take a break. There's a river over there. Go and change your clothes. Otherwise, how can we get to the Wuling County? Lu Ling suddenly said. Lu Li came to his senses and ran towards the river. He put her down by the river and scrubbed his face with cold water. Lu Ling took out a clean robe from her bundle, handed it over, and said softly, Do you feel uncomfortable? This was a necessary process on the path of martial arts. This was how cruel it was in the northern desert. Once you step onto the path of martial arts, there is no turning back. Either you rise to the top, or you die in the wilderness. There is no second path. If you don't kill them today, we will be the ones to die. Lu Li exhaled deeply. He turned around and forced a smile to his sister. He nodded and said, Sis, I understand. Don't worry about me. Lu Li took off his robe and jumped into the river to clean himself. Then he took over the robe and put it on. She looked to the northwest and said, Let's go. We need to get to the Wuling County as soon as possible. We'll be much safer there. Di Ba and the others were far away at the periphery of the ice abyss. Even if they received the news and immediately chased after them, they would not be able to catch up with them in a short time. Of course, he had to be careful. Di Ba was now the external clan patriarch of the Zhao family. He had to go to the Wuling County and join the Lu family immediately. The Lu family was the overlord of the Wuling County. If Lu Li joined the Lu family, Di Ba would have to think twice before he laid a hand on Lu Li. What was more, Lu Li was about to awaken his bloodline and cultivate Xian energy. By that time, he would be valued by the Lu family. Unless Di Ba wanted to be hunted down by the Lu family, he would not dare to mess with Lu Li. On this thought, Lu Li was relieved. He carried his sister on his back and hurried on. The entire journey was very safe. There were no Xian beasts or wild beasts. It seemed that the beast tide had almost been suppressed. The distance between the Wuling County and the Dilong tribe was more than 30 miles. The mountain roads were difficult to walk on. Luckily, Lu Li was fast. With Lu Ling on his back, he arrived at the outskirts of the county in the afternoon. Lu Li had been to the Wuling County many times. In the past, he hunted wild beasts and Xian beasts to get mystical materials and sold them in the Wuling County. Therefore, he was quite familiar with the Wuling County. The Wuling County was a county governing more than a dozen small towns and nearly 100 tribes with a radius of more than 300 miles, with a population of more than 1 million. The city was very big, occupying an area of 10 li. There was a towering city wall outside. At the moment, there were city guards on top of the wall. They wore the black armor of the Lu family and looked majestic. There were several city guards outside the city gate, checking the people coming in and out. Lu Li put his sister down and walked into the city, holding her hand. Wait! Lu Ling took out a white veil from her bundle and covered her face. This beautiful face of hers once brought her trouble. Because of this, she was crippled. Now that she came to the Wu Ling County, she didn't want to cause any trouble. Stop! 2 escorts walked over. They looked at Lu Li with alertness and said, "Why is there a strong smell of blood on you?" Even though he had cleaned up, the smell of blood on Lu Li was still very strong. These escorts had been walking on the edge of blades all year round, so they could tell just by smelling it. Lu Li cupped his fists and said, "Sir, I killed some beasts on the way and got some blood on my body. My name is Lu Li. Lord Lu Wu and Lady Yi both know me. This saber was given to me by Lady Yi." Lu Li handed over the saber in his hand. The escorts looked at it and let down their guard. The saber had the mark of the Lu family on it. Since Lu Li could tell the names of Lu Wu and Lady Yi, there should be no problem. Lu Li put away the saber and asked after some thoughts, "Sir, is Lady Yi in the county? She asked me to come to the Wu Ling County to find her." Lady Yi. The escort frowned and shook his head. "Lady Yi went to the ice abyss with some men yesterday. She is not in the county." Oh no, Lu Li's expressions changed. How could he join the Lu family without Lady Yi? If he did not join the Lu family, how could he defend himself when Di Ba came after him with his men? "Let's go into the county first," Lu Ling said in a low voice. Lu Li had to lead her into the county. After they entered the county, Lu Ling said, "No violence is allowed in the Wu Ling County. This is the rule set by the Lu family. It is safe in the county. But let's go to the Lu family first. It will be best if we can join the Lu family immediately." Lu Li knew where the Lu family was. It was in the biggest mansion in the middle of the county. He nodded and led Lu Ling forward quickly. After a while, Lu Ling said again, "Lu Li, if you can join the Lu family, you must choose to be the guest warrior of the Lu family. You cannot join the external clan." Lu Li touched his head, not quite understanding what Lu Ling meant. He knew something about the big families. The Lu family, the Zhao family, the Lu family, and even all the big families of the northern desert were similar. The big families were basically divided into internal clan, external clan, and guest clan. The internal clan consisted of the warriors of the family. They had the most resources and the most power. They were the backbone of the family. The external clan consisted of powerful warriors recruited from the outside. For example, Patriarch Hong and many escorts of the Lu family belonged to the external clan. They attached themselves to the Lu family and fought for the Lu family. They would receive the corresponding salary and resources from the Lu family according to their strength, status, and achievements. Then there was the guest clan. The guest clan consisted of guest warriors. Nominally, they belonged to the family, but they were free to act. Usually, they did not have to work for the family. They would only be dispatched at critical moments. Guest warriors, on the other hand, had a very low status in the big families. The resources and salary they could receive were very little, unless they were extremely powerful. Guest warriors could enter and leave the family at any time without any restriction or control. They could even leave the family at any time and join other families. Therefore, no family would invest a lot of resources to train a guest warrior. What if the guest warrior left after he was trained? What if he joined an enemy family? The status of a guest warrior in a family was very low. If Lu Li joined a Lu family as a guest warrior, the Lu family would not value Lu Li, let alone train him. Even if something happened to Lu Li, for example, Di Ba wanted to kill him, the Lu family would not help him. Lu Li and Lu Ling had started a massacre at the Di Long tribe. They had come to the Wu Ling County to seek the protection of the Lu family. Now, Lu Ling wanted him to become a guest warrior? How could Lu Li not be confused? "Sister," Lu Li wanted to explain, but Lu Ling waved her hand and said, "You don't have to say more. I understand your concern. You must remember, no matter which family or force you join, you can only be a guest warrior. You cannot join the external clan, because you have more important things to do. You cannot stay in those families or forces for long. Also, these small families do not deserve you to serve them. Do not deserve? Lu Li was stunned again. Who was he? It was good enough that the Lu family wanted him. How could Lu Ling say that he did not deserve it? The overlord of the Wu Ling County, the Lu family, was only a small family in Lu Ling's eyes? Yes, they do not deserve it. Lu Ling nodded seriously. After a moment of silence, she said, "Your identity is extraordinary. These small families are not qualified for you to serve. I will tell you the details later. Go to the Lu family first." Extraordinary? Lu Li touched his head. He was even more confused. However, there were so many people here that it was not appropriate for him to ask. He just walked forward with his mind full of doubts. Every street in the Wuling County was noisy because the Beast-Tide City was not peaceful. However, powerful warriors of the super families took action. It was said that they were suppressed by the Beast Tide, so there was no chaos in the Wuling County. After making several turns and walking for an hour, Lu Li and Lu Ling finally arrived at the north of the plaza in the Wuling County, in front of a luxurious and majestic mansion. Go away. Unauthorized people are not allowed here. Lu Li and Lu Ling were shabbily dressed, and neither of them was a warrior. The two escorts of the Lu family at the door immediately asked them to leave. Lu Li walked up, cupped his fists, and said, "I am Lu Li. Lady Yi asked me to come to the Wuling County to find her. She said that she can recommend me to join the Lu family. This is the saber that Lady Yi gave me." Lu Li handed the saber over. The escort looked at it and then at Lu Li. He waved his hand and said, "Lady Yi is not here. She will be back in 3 days. You can come back in 3 days." 3 days? Lu Li's expressions changed. He was afraid that Di Ba would come to the Wuling County with his men in 3 days. P.S. Many people said that the update was too slow. How fast was the update during the Burning Heaven War? What the old freak wanted to say was, now is the issue of new books. We need to promote and recommend them. According to the rules of the website, the update cannot be fast. So, please wait for a while. When the book is on the shelf, the update speed will definitely satisfy everyone. New books needed to be taken care of. Any author would lose their passion if the result was not good. They might ruin the book and stop writing. Chapter 23. Lady Yi was not here, so Lu must not be in the county either. After all, he was the leader of the most powerful Silver Wolf battle team of the Lu family. Lu Li looked at Lu Ling, who winked at him, signaling for him to leave. "Let's go to that tavern." Lu Ling pointed to a luxurious tavern on the east side of the plaza. Lu Li looked at it and said with embarrassment, "Sis, that tavern is quite expensive. I heard it costs 10 golden leaves for one night. Let's go to another one." "So what? Is it more important than your life?" Lu Ling said coldly. "This tavern is near the Lu family. Clearly, it is the property of the Lu family. Even if Di Ba comes, he won't dare to do anything. It's just 3 days. I still have some golden leaves I have accumulated over the years. Let's go." Lu Li had killed many beasts and Xin beasts of low ranks, and sold them in the Wuling County for some golden leaves. Lu Ling had been living frugally, so she did have some money saved up. They went to the luxurious tavern on the east side. The waiter outside the door stared at them with suspicion. Only when Lu Ling took out a bag of golden leaves from her bag did the waiter lead the way with a smile. They booked 2 of the best rooms. Lu Ling went back to her room to put away her things and then left the tavern with Lu Li. In a nearby shop, she helped Lu Li buy 2 gorgeous warrior robes, while she also bought 2 relatively expensive and beautiful robes for herself. Clothes make the man. Don't let others look down on you when you go to the Lu family, Lu Ling explained. She asked Lu Li to wash up and change into a new warrior robe. After Lu Li changed, Lu Ling looked him up and down carefully. She nodded and said with a smile, "Sure enough, clothes make the man. In the future, my brother will charm a bunch of young ladies of big families." Lu Li looked like Lu Ling. His facial features were pretty and his body shape was perfect. However, his skin was a bit rough and dark due to living in the wild all year round. Now that he was wearing a gorgeous white warrior robe, he immediately looked handsome. The wildness in his bones made him look more mature and masculine. Lu Ling was much more beautiful after she changed into a beautiful robe. It was a pity that one of her legs was lame. Her beautiful face was covered by a veil. Otherwise, she would be a dazzling beauty. The two went down to have a good meal. Lu Ling asked Lu Li to go back to his room. When she got back, she took out some white powder from her bag and mixed it with some water. She handed it to Lu Li and said, "Drink it." "What is this?" Lu Li smelled something strange. He remembered the tea Lu Ling gave him in the morning. He frowned and asked, "Sis, are you going to burn down the house again? This is the property of the Lu family. What are you thinking about?" Lu Ling glared at Lu Li and explained, "This is for the antidote. You can cultivate Xian energy after you drink it." Ah. Lu Li blinked and then came to his senses. He looked at Lu Ling in shock and said, "Sis, I cannot cultivate Xian energy because I am poisoned?" "That's right," Lu Ling said with certainty. "Also, I was the one who poisoned you. When you were 6 years old, I had already poisoned you. Otherwise, you would have been able to cultivate profound energy." "What?" Lu Li trembled, and his eyes were filled with shock. He didn't doubt that Lu Ling was trying to harm him, but he didn't understand why she would do this. "If I hadn't poisoned you and allowed you to cultivate Xian energy, we would have died a long time ago." Lu Ling sighed and said, "I suspect that the death of our grandpa has something to do with Ba and the several old guys in the tribe. When our grandpa's body was sent back, I clearly remember that Ba looked at us with murderous intent. If it weren't for sixth granduncle, we would have been exterminated. Think about it. If you could cultivate Xian energy at a young age, you would be gifted. When you grow up, you will definitely become a powerful warrior. When you find out the cause of our grandpa's death, will you seek revenge? How could Ba nurture a tiger to invite calamity? Once you cultivated Xian energy too early, only death awaited us. I found a kind of herb in the ancient books left by my father. I successfully found it in the mountains. This herb is harmless to humans. It can only prevent you from cultivating Xian energy. Now, after the antidote is removed, you should be able to cultivate Xian energy." Lu Li suddenly understood after Lu Ling finished her explanation. Previously, Lu Ling said that he could cultivate Xian energy immediately after he awakened his bloodline. He had thought that Xian energy had something to do with the awakening of his bloodline. Only now did he understand that the reason why he could not cultivate Xian energy was because his sister used poison. Not only did he not blame Lu Ling, but he also looked at her with heartache. He choked with sobs and said, "Sis, it has been hard on you all these years." Lu Ling lost her parents at a young age. When she was 4 years old, she took care of Lu Li, who was still in swaddling clothes, and survived with difficulty. What did 4 years old know? What could she do? Lu Ling also had to be on guard against the open and covert attacks from the tribe. When she was 14 years old, she was almost raped. Her leg was broken, and she crawled back from the wild. When she came back, she had no one to seek justice. She had to bear all the pain and swallow all the grievances. She never told Lu Li and just licked her wounds in silence. Not at all. Lu Ling put on a gentle smile. She reached out her hand and gently touched Lu Li's face. She said in a gentle voice, "Lu Li, we are the children of a Lu family. Lu family members sweat and bleed, but they cannot shed tears. Only the weak will shed tears and complain that the heavens are unfair to them. The strong will silently endure everything and rely on their own hands to overcome all tribulations. If a person wants to become strong, they must first have a strong heart. Do you understand?" "Yes." Lu Li nodded. He grabbed Lu Ling's hands and solemnly said, "Sis, I will try my best to become a powerful warrior. I will never let you suffer any harm or grievance again. I will find the best elixirs to cure your leg. I will let you live a good life. Trust me. I trust you. My brother will become a powerful warrior that can look down upon all." Lu Ling nodded. Then she handed over the tea and said, "If you want to become a powerful warrior, you must first detoxify and cultivate Xian energy. Xian energy is the foundation of a warrior. Once you have cultivated Qian energy, it will be much easier for you to join the Lu family. Okay. Lu Li drank the tea in one gulp. When he finished, Lu Ling immediately said, "Sit on the ground with your legs crossed and get rid of all distracting thoughts. Calm down and sense the Qian Qi in heaven and earth. Absorb it into your body and condense Qian energy." Lu Li sat with his legs crossed and got rid of all distracting thoughts. He entered a state of emptiness and concentrated on sensing the miraculous Qian Qi in heaven and earth. The way to cultivate Qian energy was simple. It was common at the entire northern desert. Anyone with good aptitude could cultivate Qian energy. Lu Li had known about this method for a long time. He had tried it many times over the years. Somehow, he felt there were some miraculous stars in heaven and earth. He knew they were Qian Qi. Immediately, he tried to draw them closer by meditating. The human body was naturally attracted to Qian Qi. Those invisible stars moved closer to Lu Li's body and got into his body. Lu Li began to think of a way to keep the Qian Qi and condense it into Qian energy. At first, it was the same as before. He could not condense it. An hour later, a weak stream of qi suddenly appeared in one of his major meridians. That stream of qi slowly flowed through his meridians, making his entire body feel extremely comfortable. It was as if he had drunk the best wine in the world. Qian energy. Lu Li suddenly opened his eyes and said with surprise, "Sis, I have cultivated Qian energy." Ha ha. Chapter 24. Lu Renwang. This was the first time Lu Li had heard his father's name. He was shocked by it. Black tortoise, spirit sea, soul pond, fate wheel, eternal realm, noble lord, human sovereign realm. Human sovereign realm was the king of humans. In the history of the northern desert, any human sovereign realm could unify the northern desert and build a powerful dynasty. The vast territory would be under his feet and billions of powerful warriors would obey his orders. Human sovereign realm was the most powerful warrior of the human race, the unparalleled chosen warrior. Someone dared to call himself Lu Renwang? Wasn't he afraid that some powerful warriors would send someone to kill him? After all, this was a taboo. Blaspheming a human sovereign realm was not tolerated by heaven and earth. Even if someone insulted a powerful warrior of human sovereign realm, the big families would hunt him down for thousands of miles if they knew, let alone Lu Renwang. "You have an unusual identity." Lu Li remembered Lu Ling's words. A bold idea came to his mind. Could it be that he was the son of a powerful warrior of human sovereign realm? But on second thought, there was no powerful warrior of human sovereign realm at the northern desert for the past 100 years. Don't overthink it. Seeing Lu Li's expression, Lu Ling stood up and said, "As long as you can awaken your bloodline, I will tell you everything. Now we must go out. Let's go to the temple and see when we can open the bloodline altar. As long as you can awaken your bloodline, the Lu family will treat you like a lord." Lu Li felt there were more and more mysteries about him, but Lu Ling would not talk about it. Luckily, he had already reached 11,000 pounds of strength and could awaken his bloodline at any time. A little while longer was not a big deal. Ba could bring people into the Wuling County at any time. Even though he was staying in the tavern of the Lu family, Lu Li did not feel safe. He quickly got up and walked out with Lu Ling. The temple was actually at the south of the plaza, corresponding to the mansion of the mayor. Every city had a temple for bloodline awakening. "Sis, is there anything I need to awaken my bloodline? Like golden leaves?" Lu Li asked as he walked towards the temple. He knew nothing about the temple. He used to only see it from a distance. Since the gate of the temple was always closed and it was mysterious, Lu Li dared not to go closer. All the warriors at the northern desert wanted to awaken their bloodline and become the most powerful bloodline warrior. Disciples of the big families and young people of tribes all wanted to awaken their bloodline. It was said that Hua had to try. Lu Li thought that if anyone could come without any conditions, wouldn't the people of the temple be exhausted? After all, there were so many people in Wuling County. Nothing. Lu Ling said with certainty. As long as you can open the gate of the temple, it means that there is hope for you to awaken your bloodline. The temple will arrange for you to do so. Oh, Luli looked at the old temple in the south. The temple was old, but did not seem to be dilapidated. The temple was pitch black, and there were 6 large pillars at the front door, carved with ancient and mysterious patterns. The 4 walls of the temple also had mysterious patterns. The temple was not big, but it was full of mystery and strangeness. This temple could be seen by anyone who passed by. The passers-by and warriors in the plaza were already used to it, so no one paid any attention to it. Luli walked with Lu Ling step by step. When they were about 30 feet away from the temple, Lu Ling stopped. She encouraged Lu Li with a smile. Go, push open the gate of the temple. A new world will open for you. Lu Li looked at Lu Ling somehow. His confidence grew stronger. He slowly walked towards the temple. The passers-by nearby were attracted by Lu Li. Seeing that he was so old, they mocked him. Normally, bloodline awakening would happen at the age of 6. Disciples of big families or children of tribes would organize a group of 6-year-old children to come here to awaken their bloodline every month. It was said that 6 years old was the best time to awaken one's bloodline. Every year, at least thousands of children would go to the Wuling County to push open the gate of the temple. However, only a few could get in. Over the years, none of the children that got in could awaken their bloodline. Luli was already 14 or 15 years old. How could he still dream of awakening his bloodline? Ignoring the passers-by, Luli walked towards the gate of the temple step by step with determination. More and more passers-by were attracted by him. They all looked at Lu Li with mockery, wanting to see Lu Li suffer. Lu Li walked to the gate of the temple. Looking at the 2 dark, ancient, and mysterious gates in front of him, he took a deep breath and reached out one hand to push the gate. Buzzing, the gate suddenly glowed. The patterns on it seemed to come to life. Clearly, there was an inhibition formation on the gate. Otherwise, anyone could push it open. Creak, creak, a soft sound rang out, and the 2 black doors actually opened inwards. Lu Li's eyes glowed. He suddenly turned around and looked at Lu Ling. The latter nodded slightly, as if everything was within her expectations. What? The plaza was in an uproar. A 14 or 15-year-old boy could push open the gate of the temple. Did he not try to awaken his bloodline when he was 6 years old? Lu Li really did not come here. The people of the D Long tribe did not bring him here. Lu Ling never mentioned it either. She only asked him to refine his body. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A sound of footsteps came from inside the temple. A skinny old man covered in a black robe walked over slowly. When he got to the gate, he looked up at Lu Li and said, "You have pushed open the gate of the temple and gained the opportunity to activate the bloodline altar. You can come here in half a month. By then, the awakening ceremony will be held for you. Whether you can awaken your bloodline or not will depend on your luck." With that said, the skinny old man gently patted the gate of the temple. The gate closed slowly. The patterns on the gate no longer glowed and returned to normal. Lu Li walked back in strides. Many people looked at him curiously, but no one paid much attention to him. After all, there were some children who could push open the gate of the temple every year. However, many of them went in full of hope, only to return in disappointment. Not to mention powerful bloodlines of the 3rd rank and above, not to mention powerful ones of the 3rd rank and above, not to mention those of the lowest rank. Half a month. When they got back to the tavern, both Lu Li and Lu Ling looked serious. Half a month seemed to be a short time, but it was enough for many things to happen. Lu Ling's original plan was that Lu Li would be valued and treated like a lord even if he joined the Lu family as a guest warrior after he awakened a powerful bloodline. There was still half a month left. Ba would definitely bring people to the Wuling County. Unless Lu Li joined the external clan of the Lu family, the Lu family would not help him. Join the external clan of the Lu family? This was something that Lu Ling would never allow. She stayed silent all the way back to the tavern. She immediately told Lu Li, for the next 3 days, you must cultivate your Xian energy with all your might. Try to reach the middle stage of the Xianwu realm. Only then will the Lu family value you. Middle stage of the Xianwu realm? How is that possible? Lu Li was speechless. He had just cultivated Xian energy and was only at the initial stage of the Xianwu realm. How could he cultivate from the initial stage of the Xianwu realm to the middle stage in 3 days? Was this not a pipe dream? Chapter 25. Others might not be able to do it, but you can. Lu Ling took out a book from a bundle. Then, in front of Lu Li's shocked eyes, she tore the first page and took out a thin golden page from the interlayer. She handed it over and said in a serious tone, "Read the mental cultivation method in this book and destroy it immediately." This is left by my father? Lu Li's eyes glowed. These books were all left by his father, so the golden page must be one of them. He took it over and glanced over it. Soon, his breaths became rapid. Book of War God, Section 1. There were only dozens of words on the golden page, and it was indicated that this was only the first section of a mental cultivation method. The name was quite domineering. Every golden character was like a tiger, and each of them had a strange and unpredictable power. Lu Li's heart was stirred up and his blood was boiling. This is a cultivation method unique to the Lu family. But my father only left you the first section. Even though it is only the first section, it is enough for you to cultivate to the peak of the Soul Pond realm. Lu Ling said seriously. Lu Li, you must remember that you cannot tell anyone about this. You cannot say it even if you die. What is my father's background? Lu Li's mind was full of questions. It seemed that Lu Ling would not tell him, so he had to take the golden page back to his room. He carefully studied the dozens of words on the golden page. After he was sure that he had memorized all of them, he threw the page into the stove to burn. Cultivate. Lu Li tried hard to calm down his excitement. He sat down with his legs crossed and started to cultivate. The cultivation of a Xianwu realm was easy, just like the basic cultivation of Xian energy. Everyone at the northern desert knew about it. However, knowing about it was one thing. Whether one could cultivate Xian energy and the speed of cultivation depended on one's talent. There was a famous saying at the northern desert: to be successful, one needed 80% effort, 10% talent, and 10% luck. Often, the latter two factors were more important than the first one. Talent was a person's constitution. If you could not cultivate Xian energy, how could you become a powerful warrior? Others could cultivate Xian energy at the age of 3 and awaken bloodlines of the 5th or 6th rank at the age of 5 or 6. Even if you worked hard for a lifetime, you could not compare to others who cultivated for a year. It was cruel to say it out loud, but it was the truth. Of course, diligence was the foundation. No matter how high one's talent was, if they were not diligent, they would still be overtaken by martial artists with low talent. They would not be able to become an expert that could look down on everyone. To cultivate in the profound martial realm, one was to accumulate profound energy, and the second was to use profound energy to open up the 12 main meridians in the body. When the 12 main meridians were all opened and the Xian energy was abundant, he would reach the peak of the Xianwu realm. He could then condense the Spirit Sea and break through to the Spirit Sea realm. The Xian martial realm was a great test of talent. In other words, one's constitution. Of course, if he was a disciple of a large family, he would have access to a vast amount of resources. For example, he could soak in rare medicinal herbs from a young age and use spirit medicines to improve his physique. This way, his cultivation would naturally be faster. Good physique and abnormal talent, these 2 points. Firstly, he cultivated his Xian energy very quickly. Others cultivated for a month to accumulate 10 strands, but he only needed 2 hours. This was his abnormal talent. Another point was the meridians. Everyone was born with impurities in their bodies. They were not pure, and there would be blockages in the meridians affecting the flow of dark force. Xian energy was the foundation of a warrior. To have powerful combat ability, one must let the Xian energy flow around the body so that it could be mobilized anywhere at any time. Therefore, in order to cultivate, one must first cultivate the meridians. One must melt away the blockages in the meridians with Xian energy and open up the meridians so that the Xian energy could flow freely in all the meridians. Everyone's physique was different. Some people had more blockages in their meridians, some had less, and some were completely blocked and could not be opened up. This was the difference in talent. Those with good physique and abnormal talent would have very few blockages. Others would need months or even years to open up one meridian, but they would only need a few days or even half a day. People like this would usually be called geniuses. Good heavens, I can't believe my physique is so good. After cultivating for only an hour, Luli opened his eyes. He murmured in shock. At this moment, he finally understood why Lu Ling said that he could reach the middle stage of the Xianwu realm in 3 days. For the cultivation of Xian energy, he used the War God album. He did not know whether his cultivation speed was fast or slow because he did not know the cultivation speed of others. But one thing was for sure. The blockages in the Chong meridian, the main meridian that he was cultivating, were very few, pitifully few. It was even to the extent that he could use Xian energy to open up the entire meridian. The blockages of impurities in the meridian did not completely block it. There could only be two explanations. Either he was extremely talented, or someone gave him the best elixirs when he was young to improve his physique. Either way, Lu Ling must know the reason. Otherwise, she would not have let Lu Li reach the middle stage of the Xianwu realm in 3 days. Of the 12 main meridians, 4 would be the middle stage of the Xianwu realm. 8 would be the later stage of the Xianwu realm. When all of them were opened up, he would reach the peak of the Xianwu realm. Then, he would condense the Spirit Sea and reach the Godwu realm. For meridians, if every meridian was the same as the Chong meridian, then it would not take 3 days to open up all 4. If he did not rest day and night, it would take him 1.5 days at most. Cultivate. Luli did not care anymore. After all, Lu Ling would tell him everything after the bloodline was awakened. He began to cultivate Xian energy wholeheartedly. He used Xian energy to open up his meridians and make the breakthrough to the Xian Wu realm first. The more powerful he was, the faster he could cultivate. The Lu family would value him more. As long as he was under the protection of the Lu family, even the internal clan patriarchs of the Zhao family would have to think twice if they wanted to make trouble for Lu Li, let alone Di Ba, an external clan patriarch. It was getting dark outside. After 2 hours, Lu Ling came in with a lunchbox. Seeing the glow of Xian energy on Lu Li's body, a smile appeared in her eyes. She went back to her room to rest by herself. Lu Li did not eat, nor did he rest. He immersed himself in cultivation. He was very excited. He cultivated for an entire night, but he did not feel tired at all. Instead, he was in high spirits. After dawn, Lu Ling came in and forced Lu Li to sleep for a while. Lu Li woke up at noon. Then he continued to cultivate Xian energy and use it to open up his meridians. For the next 2 days, Lu Li and Lu Ling did not leave the tavern. Apart from eating and taking naps, Lu Li spent the rest of his time cultivating and trying to open up his meridians. His cultivation progress was very fast. On the first night, he had opened up the Chong meridian. On the second afternoon and evening, he had opened up the Hand-Yang meridian on his left hand and the Hand-Yi meridian on his right hand. On the third day, he started to attack the Foot-Yang meridian on his right leg. At dusk on the third day, Lu Li opened his eyes. He saw Lu Ling by his side. Immediately, he shouted with joy like a child. "Sis, I did it. I have opened up 4 meridians. I am a warrior at the middle stage of Xianwu realm now." In less than 3 days, Lu Li had successfully made a breakthrough from the initial stage of the Xianwu realm to the middle stage. If this speed were known, the entire Wuling County would be in an uproar. Chapter 26. Lu Li, get your ass out here. Just when Lu Li stopped his cultivation and took a few bites of food, a domineering shout came from the outside. Di Ba. The 2 siblings were very familiar with the voice. They looked at each other and their expressions changed. What they were worried about the most had happened. Di Ba was here. More importantly, how could Deba shout so arrogantly in the tavern of the Liu family? How could a patriarch of the external clan that had just joined the Zhao family be so arrogant? Who gave him such confidence? Sis, what should we do? Lu Li looked towards Lu Ling with his saber in his hand. If Deba was going to make a move, then he would have to fight to the death. Don't worry. Lu Ling stood up after some thoughts and said, let's go out and meet him. I don't think he dares to do anything in the tavern. Otherwise, he wouldn't shout and just kill his way in. It was a blessing, not a curse. If it was a curse, the Liu family would know as soon as possible. Hiding here was not a solution. They might as well go out and meet him. There were more people down there. If anything happened, the Liu family would know at once. Lu Li helped Lu Ling walk out. At the stairs, they saw the tavern's lobby was full of people. The waiters and escorts of the tavern all came out, surrounding a group of warriors in cyan armors and glaring at them. Deba. Lu Li and Lu Ling saw Deba right away. He was in cyan armor and had 4 or 5 men with him. They all seemed to be warriors of the Zhao family. Who had inherited Deba's physique. Deba had a square face, and he was at least 185 meters tall. He had a stocky build and a huge axe on his back. He was emitting a domineering chi and energy. He looked like a human-shaped wild beast. Lu Li. When he saw Lu Li and Lu Ling, his eyes were filled with killing intent. He shouted in a deep voice, you and your sister are good. How dare you kill 4th uncle, Uncle Li, Tian, and Han. If I don't kill you today, I, Deba, will commit suicide as an apology. Rustle. Many people came out of their rooms in the tavern. A crowd started to gather outside. Of course, nobody would intervene. Clearly, they were just here to enjoy the show. Lu Li held his saber tightly in his hand and stood in front of Lu Ling. If Deba were to make a move, Lu Li would fight to the death. He didn't say anything. Lu Ling did, but she didn't look at Deba. Instead, she looked at the tavern keeper. She said in a cold voice, Tavern keeper, we paid a high price to stay here because we don't want to be disturbed. This was the territory of the Liu family, but someone was shouting and wanted to kill. Is your Liu family not going to do anything about it? Or, the Wuling County did not belong to the Liu family? If I remember correctly, no violence is allowed in the Wuling County. This is the rules set by the Castellan of the Wuling County, right? As soon as Lu Ling finished her words, the tavern keeper and the escorts changed their expressions. It was indeed a rule set by the patriarch of the Liu clan that no violence was allowed in the city. If Deba and the others were allowed to openly kill people in the inn today, the prestige of the Liu clan would be greatly reduced, and the business of the inn would suffer a disastrous decline. A shopkeeper with a mustache said with a gloomy face, all the people of the Zhao family leave. If you have any grievances, you can appeal to the Castellan's mansion. If you use force here, you will be making an enemy of the Liu family. Clank, clank, a group of escorts of the Liu family unsheathed their weapons. If Deba and the others were to act recklessly, a fight would break out immediately. Seeing this, Lu Li let out a sigh of relief. Deba was a warrior of the Spirit Sea realm. Among the 4 or 5 people he brought with him, one of them was also at the Spirit Sea realm. The rest were at the peak of the Xianwu realm. Once they started fighting, the consequences would be unimaginable. Before Deba said anything, another middle-aged man of the Spirit Sea realm next to him spoke. A token appeared in his hand. He looked at the tavern keeper with a smile and said, Brother Lu Yuan, this is the token of our family patriarch. These 2 are traitors of the Dilong tribe. Not only did they betray the tribe, but they also killed many people of the Dilong tribe. Our family patriarch said that the outside world is in turmoil now. If such insane people enter the county, they might cause trouble. Speaking of which, this is a family matter of the Dilong tribe. Brother Lu Yuan, can you make it easier for us? Let Deba deal with it himself. Of course, we will not make a scene in the county. We will deal with it after we leave the county. The man who spoke seemed to have some prestige in the Zhao family. The tavern keeper and the escorts looked better. The tavern keeper looked at the token in the man's hand from time to time, struggling. Oh no. Luli could tell that the situation was not right. The escorts of the Liu family had lost their will to fight. Maybe they would allow Diba to take them down. After all, the sister and brother were just two unimportant people. As long as they did not kill anyone in the county, it would be easier for them to accept it. Luli thought of something and cupped his hands to the tavern keeper. Lord, I am Luli. I did kill some people of the DeLong tribe. But you can't just listen to one side of the story. I am quite familiar with Lady E and Lord Lu Wu. You can get them here first before you decide if you want to hand us over or not. Lady E Lu Wu, the tavern keeper, Lu Yuan, was startled. Just now, he almost decided to ignore this matter. However, since Luli mentioned these two people, he could not be careless. He blinked his eyes and said, Someone, go and see if Lady E and Lord Lu Wu are back. This time, it was Diba's turn to look awful. He looked at Luli in surprise. This bastard knew Lu Wu and Lady E. Also, why did he kill Tian, Han, and the two patriarchs? Tat, tat, tat. After a moment, there came some hurried footsteps from the outside. A gust of ferocious chi and energy came from afar. Luli looked into the distance and was immediately overjoyed. He saw a team of silver wolf escorts running towards him. At the front was Lady E. Lady E is back. A waiter outside shouted in surprise from afar. Diba and the others looked even more awful. It was such a coincidence that Lady E came back. Lady E must have just come back from outside. She was travel-worn, and her fox fur was a bit dirty. She arrived at the tavern on her silver wolf and jumped down. The people at the door immediately made way. Lady E walked in with 6 or 7 escorts. Luli? Lady E saw Luli at first glance. Her tired face lit up. She said with a smile, Luli, are you here for me? Luli cupped his hands and said, Lady E, I can't stay in the tribe any longer. So, I came to seek shelter with you. You see, our chief is chasing me to the county. Also, Lady E, I have cultivated Xian energy. Lu Li's hands glowed, and his vigorous Xian energy glistened. Lady E and the escorts were all shocked. Even Diba murmured in surprise. Middle stage of the Xian Wu realm. How is it possible? Luli could not cultivate Xian energy, which was a well-known fact in the tribe. Diba had asked Dihu and the others to keep an eye on Luli. If Luli could cultivate Xian energy, he would have killed the 2 siblings a long time ago. He had just left the tribe not long ago. Even if Luli could cultivate Xian energy, it should have happened in this period of time. How could Luli reach the middle stage of the Xian Wu realm in such a short time? Compared to Diba, Lady E was even more shocked. Luli had just fought with her several days ago, and he had been carrying coffins for quite some time. There is absolutely no Xian energy in Lu Li's body. She, Lu Wu, and Patriarch Hong could not have made a mistake. How could he cultivate Xian energy in such a short time and reach the middle stage of the Xian Wu realm? Lu Li's physique was abnormal, and he could consume the body refinement pellet without any period of weakness. At this moment, in Lady Yi's eyes, Lu Li was full of mystery and wonder. Lady Zhao, Li just said. The tavern keeper walked over and stood next to Lady E. He told her about Diba and the others, emphasizing on the words of the family patriarch of the Zhao family. After Lady E heard it, she said decisively, Zhao Li, bring your men out. This is the Wuling County. Anyone who dares to use force in the county will be killed without mercy. Lady Zhao Li raised the token of the Zhao family patriarch and wanted to say something. However, Lady E did not listen to him at all. She waved her hand in an overbearing manner and said, Get out. Okay. Zhao Li sneered and left with his men. Diba clenched his teeth and stared at Lu Li and his sister ferociously. Then he walked out of the tavern in anger. All right. Chapter 27. What? You want to join the guest clan? Become a foreign elder? Lady E had just brought Lu Li and his sister back to the Lu family compound. Before they even had time to sit down, Lady E received a piece of shocking news. Luli said with certainty, "Yes, I want to join the guest clan. As long as the Lu family agrees, I will risk my life for anything the Lu family needs." Lu Ling had made it very clear to him that he could join any family as long as he was a guest warrior. He could not join the external clan. Of course, it was impossible to join the inner hall. Usually, only the disciples of the main clan could join the inner hall. Luli had rarely disobeyed his sister since he was a kid. Now that he heard about what happened to his sister, he felt even more sorry for her. How could he disobey her? Wait. Lady, he took a sip of tea and seriously said, "Luli, you may not know much about big families. You don't know about the external clan and the guest clan. If I understand." Luli interrupted Lady E and said apologetically, "I know that if I join the guest clan, my status in the family will be very low, and I will have very few resources and power. But I have my difficulties. I can only promise that as long as the Lu clan accepts me into the guest clan, I will die 10,000 times if anything happens to the Lu clan. Don't say any more. It's meaningless." Seeing that Lu Li was asking for all kinds of guarantees, Lady E shook her head and said, "Rules are rules. I don't have the final say in the family. Not even my father has the right to give guest warriors the treatment of the external clan, let alone me. Moreover, you have offended Ba. Now, Ba is the Zhao clan's external clan elder. It's fine if you stay in the city, but if you leave the city, the clan will not be able to protect you." "I know." Luli nodded again. "But I insist." After Luli finished his words, he could clearly feel that Lady Yi's expression turned gloomy. The escorts inside and outside the hall also looked unhappy. There was some mockery in their eyes, as if they were blaming Lu Li for not knowing what was good for him in silence. Lu Ling stood next to Lu Li. She said nothing from beginning to end. Her face was covered with a veil, and her eyes were lowered. No one could tell what was on her mind. "All right, young lady," he couldn't be bothered to persuade him any further. She stood up and said, "Joining the guest clan requires you to complete a mission. You might have to leave the city, so you better be careful. As long as you complete the task, you will be a guest of the Lu family. I hope you will cultivate well. If you want to change your mind, you can look for me at any time. Lu Yu, bring them to the guest hall and tell the guest hall elders about my intentions." Lady Yi got up and left with her people, leaving behind the escort, Lu Yu, who said to Lu Li and his sister with a straight face, "Come with me." Lu Li and Lu Ling could understand the drastic change in Lu Yu's attitude. Guest warriors were not welcomed in any family. Unless Lu Li was very powerful, no family would want to raise a person for nothing. That person might even join a hostile family. The Lu family was very large. Inside, there were layers of buildings, pavilions, terraces, and waterside pavilions. Candles were lit everywhere. It was luxurious yet elegant. It was the first time that the sister and brother had seen such a novel view. They felt dizzy. The Lu family is not like your tribe. There are many rules here. You can't wander around. You can only walk in the guest hall. If you want to leave Lu Castle, you have to go through the west gate, and your sister can't come and go as she pleases. Later, the guest hall's elder will give you a detailed catalog and tell you all the rules. While walking, Lu Yu explained to Lu Li. Lu Li nodded slightly, and Lu Ling lowered her head and stopped looking around. After the time it took for several incense sticks to burn, Lu Yu brought them to a yard. There were more than a dozen individual yards. Many of the yards were lit with candles. It seemed that there were some guest warriors of the Lu family. Patriarch Chung, this is the new guest warrior. His name is Lu Li. Lady, he asked you to make arrangements. When they arrived at a yard, Lu Yu left the sister and brother to the white-bearded old man and left directly. He never looked at Lu Li and his sister again. The white-bearded old man, on the other hand, had a kind smile on his face. He pointed to a yard in the corner and said, "I am Chung Chu, a patriarch of the guest clan. You go and stay there. Let's talk tomorrow." The white-bearded old man threw a wooden slip to Lu Li and said, "These are the rules of the guest clan. Take a look first. If you don't understand, ask me tomorrow." Lu Li and his sister left with their fists cupped in front of their chest. They walked into the yard in the corner. This yard was bigger than the one they lived in the tribe. It had 4 rooms. The decorations inside were average, but much better than the yard they lived in the Delong tribe. Lu Ling put down the bundle and walked around in the yard. She nodded and said, "Not bad. It is quiet and safe here. It is suitable for cultivation. If everything goes well, we will stay here for 1 or 2 years." Lu Li was reading the catalog given to him by Chang Chu to understand the rules of the guest clan of the Lu family. He looked up and asked, "Sis, 1 or 2 years. Where are we going?" "The south." Lu Ling pointed to the south and said, "The small Wuling County is not suitable for you. You have more important things to do. In 3 years, you must go to the Heaven Martial City, the Heaven Frigid City, or the Heaven Cold City. You must join one of the 3 largest 5th-rank royal families of the Northern Desert and become the guest warrior of one of them." Chapter 28. Whatever he wanted would come true. On the 2nd day, Cheng Chu, the guest clan patriarch, found Lu Li and gave him a mission. Lu Li was to go to the Ice Abyss with Lady Yi in 4 days. He must kill 100 first-rank Xian beasts or 1 second-rank Xian beast before he could become an official guest warrior of the Lu family. Near the Abyss, a group of experts from the super clans battled the Beast Emperor, triggering a beast tide on the outskirts of the Abyss. Even though the powerful Xian beasts were killed and the beast tide was suppressed, there are still many Xian beasts charging towards the outskirts. Therefore, recently, all the families have mobilized their powerful armies to the periphery of the Abyss to kill the Xian beasts. This time, our Lu family lost many people in the battle. You happen to want to join the guest clan. Since the Lu family is in trouble, of course, you will not shirk. Cheng Chu left after saying a few words. Lu Li looked at Lu Ling, who nodded and said, "The assessment task is reasonable. If you go with Lady Yi, the danger will be greatly reduced. You can also familiarize yourself with the use of Xian energy. Of course, Ba will definitely think of ways to take revenge. Therefore, you will still have a slim chance of survival when you leave the city." Lu Li said with a frown, "The task has been given, and I cannot change it. I have to go out and fight. Unfortunately, time is too tight. If I was given 1 or 2 months to take the test, I would be able to open up all my meridians and think of a way to condense the Divine Sea." After some thoughts, Lu Ling waved her hand and said, "Go and cultivate now. See if you can open up more energy channels in these 4 days and increase your fighting capacity. Let's talk about it before the mission." Lu Li had no other choice but to go back to his room to continue cultivating. He had already opened up 4 energy channels, and his speed was as fast as a rocket. If the rest of his energy channels were the same as the first 4, he could reach the peak of the Xianwu realm in a little more than a month. It was obvious he thought too much. The 5th meridian, the foot E meridian, went smoothly. It only took him half a day. However, the 6th meridian, the Ren meridian, was very long, and there were more impurities in it. It took him 1.5 days to clear this meridian. Living here was very leisurely. There was no need to worry about food or clothing. Every day, someone would bring food, water, and fruits. There was also a junior chief steward in charge of the guest hall. If there was anything that they needed, they could look for him as long as it wasn't too much. Why is the 7th meridian so long and huge? Lu Li cultivated day and night without worrying about Lu Ling. By the time he reached the 7th one, he was even more dumbfounded. The 7th meridian, the governing meridian, was twice the size of the 6th meridian, the Ren meridian. There were even more blockages in it. According to his estimation, it would take at least 3 to 4 days to clear it. The further he went, the harder it got. Lu Li understood. If cultivation was easier, then everyone would be a noble lord or a human sovereign realm warrior. The reason why there were so few powerful warriors was because each breakthrough to the next realm was extremely difficult. If Lu Li's thoughts were known by others, they would be so depressed that they would vomit blood. Even Zhao Ruwei, the most talented young master of the Zhao family, spent a whole year to reach the peak from the initial stage of the Xianwu realm. It looked like Lu Li would only spend several months at most. As expected, by the afternoon of the third day, Lu Li had only opened up half of his seventh energy channel. After cultivating for a few days, the profound energy in his meridians was very dense, enough for him to use for a month or two. Stop cultivating and take a break. Lu Ling walked in and handed over a bowl of steaming food. It was more like a basin than a bowl. Lu Li's appetite was frighteningly large. Looking at Lu Li wolfing down his food, Lu Ling said, "We are leaving tomorrow morning. Later, go and find Cheng Chu and see if he can get a good weapon." Weapon? Lu Li stopped eating and said with a frown, "I am not the official guest warrior of the Lu family yet. I don't think it is appropriate to ask for a weapon now. What's more, I am quite used to that saber. It is a Xian artifact of the first rank. It is not a matter of getting used to it." Lu Ling explained, "You don't understand Xian skills. It doesn't matter if the saber is a Xian artifact or not. You might as well use a heavy weapon. You have more than 11,000 pounds of strength with your physical body. If you use your Xian energy, you'll have at least 16,000 to 17,000 pounds, which is much higher than the peak of the Xianwu realm. Since you don't understand Xian skills, then you can use force to break them. Attack with absolute strength. This way, you can make full use of your advantage." Right? Lu Li thought about it for a while, and his eyes lit up. Lu Ling's words enlightened him. His strength was much higher than the peak of the Xianwu realm. If he could have a heavy weapon, he could use his powerful strength to break the ingenious moves of his enemies. He could defeat all with his strength. After he figured it out, Lu Li gulped down his food. Soon he swallowed it all. Lu Ling took out some golden leaves from her bag and handed them over. "You don't have to worry about food or clothing at the Lu family. Golden leaves are useless now. If you can trade them for something, you can trade them for the heaviest weapon. Any type will do." Okay. Lu Li grabbed more than 100 golden leaves and left. This was all he had accumulated over the years. He didn't feel the pinch at all. As long as he could come back alive from this mission, he could always get more golden leaves in the future. He found Cheng Chu, the guest clan patriarch, but the latter was in a difficult position. After all, Lu Li was not the official guest warrior of the Lu family yet. He had not made any contribution to the Lu family. If he asked for something from the Lu family now, the old guy of the Hall of Weapons would definitely not agree. Seeing Lu Li's hopeful look, Cheng Chu waved his hand and said, "This is your ID token. Go and try your luck. The Hall of Weapons is in the external clan, attic number 19. Lu Li took over the ID token, thanked Cheng Chu, and left. He walked out of the guest clan and looked for the house numbers along the way. After the time it took for several incense sticks to burn, Lu Li found a big attic. The words Hall of Weapons were written on the door. Stop! There was someone in the yard of the Hall of Weapons. It was an old man with gray hair. He stared at Lu Li and said, "ID token." Lu Li handed over his ID token. The old man took it over and his Xian energy surged. Soon the ID token lit up. The word guest appeared on it. The old man glanced at Lu Li, waved his hand, and said, "You are not the official guest warrior yet. You don't have any contribution points. You are not qualified to go in." Alas, Lu Li took over the ID token with a bit of sadness. Then he took out some golden leaves and said, "Sir, can I buy weapons with golden leaves? I'm going to participate in the assessment soon. I can't use my full strength without a weapon." Golden leaves? The old man looked at Lu Li with a sneer and said, "Do you think the Lu family is short of golden leaves? All Xian artifacts need contribution points to be exchanged. High-rank Xian artifacts need even more contribution points. How about this? Since you're going to participate in the assessment and don't have any weapons, I will make an exception. You can exchange with golden leaves, but you can only get the most average weapons or damaged Xian artifacts." "Thank you, sir." Lu Li was overjoyed. He didn't need Xian artifacts, just heavy weapons. He followed the old man into the Hall of Weapons. However, the old man did not take him to the attic in the middle. Instead, he took him to a small room in the corner. The old man opened the door and said, "Go in and pick one. Later, take it out for me to have a look." You can only exchange if I think it is reasonable. Luli hurried in. The room was not wide, only 40 or 50 square feet. It was piled full of weapons, at least more than 1,000. Some of the weapons were rusted, emitting a rusty smell. They are all damaged Xian artifacts. Luli glanced over and was disappointed. Most of the weapons were damaged Xian artifacts. Some were even broken. The Xian artifacts were usually sabers, spears, swords, spears, bows, and arrows. None of them seemed heavy. Luli wandered around in the room and tried many weapons. He found that none of them were heavy enough. The heaviest one was an axe that weighed only 500 or 600 pounds. There's a big saber down there. Luli rummaged for a while and found a huge saber at the bottom of the pile of weapons. Even though he only saw a corner of it, he could tell that the saber must be very heavy. Luli moved the weapons aside, and the saber revealed itself. It was a very beautiful saber. It was definitely a Xian artifact, and it was not of a low rank. The lines on it were simple and elegant. One look, and Luli could tell that it was no ordinary weapon. It was a pity that the saber was ruined. A part of the blade was broken, and it was not neat. It looked a bit awkward. Chapter 29. Hoi! He swung the saber in the air and played with it for a while, getting more and more excited. This saber used to be a Xian artifact of high rank. The material it was made of was extraordinary. Luli could feel a bone-chilling coldness when he touched it. Heaven Kylan's sword? Heaven Kylan's sword. Luli saw 2 words on the handle, which made him even more certain that this saber was extraordinary. Only Xian artifacts of the Earth grade could be named. Xian artifacts of the human grade were not qualified to be named. What a pity! Luli looked at the broken blade and sighed. If this Xian artifact was not destroyed, it could enhance a warrior's combat ability by more than 30 to 40%. But if it was not broken, it wouldn't be here. This is it. Luli walked out with the 3-foot-long broken saber. He cupped his hands in front of his chest and said to the elder, "Sir, can you trade this broken saber for me? You can have all my golden leaves." Heaven Kylan's sword? The elder glanced at the handle and said with a mocking smile, "Punk, this Heaven Kylan's sword is an Earth-grade Xian artifact, a weapon used by the previous family patriarch. Even though it is destroyed, how can you trade it for it? Not even 100,000 golden leaves, let alone 100 golden leaves. Put it back. 100,000 golden leaves?" Luli's mouth was wide open. This broken saber was so valuable. 100,000 golden leaves could be piled up into a hill. How many beasts would he have to kill to trade for it? Put it back? Luli was a bit reluctant. This saber weighed more than 2,000 pounds, and it was made of a special material. Average Xian artifact might not be able to break it. With this saber, his combat ability could be increased by at least a few times. If he had this saber in the battle at the Di-Long tribe, he could have killed a man with one move. Dihua had no chance to escape. Luli cupped his hands in front of his chest and begged, "Sir, I really need this saber. What do you want? I will owe you now and pay you back later. I can pay you back even if it is 100,000 golden leaves." "No," the elder said with a dark face, "rules are rules. If you continue to pester me endlessly, I will throw you out." Luli bowed with his teeth clenched and said, "Sir, I beg you. Anything is negotiable. I just want this saber." "If you want this saber, it's simple." Right at that moment, a pleasant female voice came from the outside. A purple figure pushed the door open and came in. She looked at Luli and said, "As long as you join the external clan of the family, I can ask the family to give you better weapons, let alone this broken saber." "Miss E." Luli looked up at the purple-robed lady with a bitter smile. Luli came and offered to give him a good weapon, but he couldn't accept her conditions. Luli swayed her slender waist and walked over. She said seriously, "Your talent is very abnormal. As long as you join the Lu family's external clan, I will ask the family to train you with all their resources. You can have any elixirs, Xian skills, weapons you want. In a couple of years, you will definitely become a powerful warrior of the Spirit Sea realm. You might even reach the Soul Pond realm. By then, You will be one of the few powerful warriors in the Wuling County. The Lu family will give you enough power and status. Even if you want to marry a young lady of the main family, it is not impossible. Lu Yi's offer was very attractive. She even said that he had a chance to become the son-in-law of the Lu family. For regular warriors, this was a great temptation. After all, the Lu family was the overlord of the Wuling County. Becoming the son-in-law of the Lu family would be like ascending to heaven in one step. Sorry, Lu Li shook his head with a bitter smile. Lu Ling's words were very clear. Even if this beautiful and honorable lady Yi said that she could marry him, let alone a young lady of the main family, he would not waver. Then never mind. Lu Yi's expression became a bit gloomy. She looked at the broken saber in Lu Li's hand and asked, "You like this saber? Actually, this saber is useless now. If it is broken, there is no way to repair it. So, it is no longer a Xian artifact. I cannot pour Xian energy into it, let alone release Xian skills." Lu Li said with determination, "I don't care if it is a Xian artifact or not. I just like this saber. Lady Yi, can you help me this time? I, Lu Li, will remember this kindness, and I will die for it." Looking at Lu Li's passionate eyes, Lu Yi remembered the scene when they were attacked by the red phosphorus hawks, and Lu Li rushed over with a wooden stick in his hand. She thought about it and said, "Patriarchy, I will exchange this saber for him. You could deduct the amount of contribution points from me." Lu Yi took out a token. The gray-haired old man looked at Lu Li with curiosity and took over the token to pour Xian energy in. The word "inner" lit up on Lu Yi's token, and there was a row of numbers behind it. However, the numbers soon changed. There was 100 less. Lu Li asked with curiosity, "What is this?" Lu Yi explained, "The number is contribution points. It is the same for any family. You will get contribution points for doing things for the family, fighting, and carrying out missions. If you join the external clan, you will get 10 contribution points for free every month. There are also contribution points for the guest clan, but only one per month. With contribution points, you can exchange for weapons, pellets, Xian skills, and even the ownership of a small town in the tribe." "Oh, I see." Lu Li suddenly understood. It seemed that when he was carrying the coffins, those patrolling escorts of the Lu family also got contribution points. These big families were fair and just. Contribution points could be exchanged for all sorts of good things if one worked hard, did something, or bled a lot. "Okay, you can go back now. We will depart for the ice abyss tomorrow morning." Lu Yi seemed to have lost the mood to talk as her persuasion was futile. She turned around and left. Lu Li, on the other hand, walked back to the guest clan excitedly with the Heaven Kylan sword in his hands. When Cheng Chu got back to the guest clan, he saw Lu Li carrying the Heaven Kylan sword on his back. Cheng Chu stared at Lu Li with a strange look after he learned that it was Lu Yi who did the exchange for him. He said, "Kid, not bad. Lady Yi is the pearl of the Wuling County, the well-deserved #1 lady of the Lu family. She can make it to the Spirit Sea realm at any time. If you can win her heart, you will definitely have a meteoric rise in the future." Lu Li's face turned red. He didn't even know how to reply. Cheng Chu laughed and left. Lu Li walked into his own yard. Lu Ling was sitting in the yard. She must have heard the conversation between Lu Li and Cheng Chu. She teased, "Lu Li, which lady do you like? This lady is not bad. Her looks are SOSO. She can be a good match for you, just barely. Of course, it is impossible for her to be your official wife. Lu Li, you must remember that your official wife must be born in a prestigious family. She must be a legitimate lady of at least a 5th-rank royal family. Only then can she be a good match for you." Here we go again. Lu Li rolled his eyes. Lu Ling always left her words unsaid. She never told him the truth. If it were not Lu Ling who said this, Lu Li would have slapped her to wake her up. Lu Li closed the door of the outer yard. Immediately, he caressed the saber in his hand with passion. Then he mobilized his Xian energy to his right hand. He felt the strength in his entire hand increased. He swung the Heaven Kylan sword and started to wield it. Swish, swish, his saber moved faster and faster. The blade made a shrill noise as it pierced through the air. The more he waved, the more excited he became. He wandered around in the yard, stirring up the dust in the air. Lu Ling was so choked that she quickly walked into her room. Okay. After he practiced for a while, Lu Li stopped. His eyes were glistening and his face was flushed. He was completely immersed in joy. He looked back to Lu Ling, who was standing at the door, and said with a grin, "Sis, with this saber, I am confident that I can fight against warriors at the peak of the Xianwu realm." Lu Ling walked out and handed over a black crossbow. She smiled gently and said, "With this death-seeking crossbow, you should be invincible among warriors below the Spirit Sea realm. Remember, no matter who you are, as long as you are an enemy, do not show mercy. Kill them first." Chapter 30. The next morning, Lu Li got up early. He waved goodbye to Lu Ling and went to wait outside the west gate by himself. Outside the west gate stood rows of martial artists. At a glance, there were at least 300 people. All of them were wearing silver-white armors of the Lu family and riding on big horses. At the front were 7 or 8 on silver wolves. Lu Li was not here yet. Clearly, it was not time yet. The Lu family is really powerful. Lu Li glanced over and saw that the 300 warriors were all at the Xianwu realm. There were quite a few at the latter stage of the Xianwu realm. It was not just 1 or 2, but 300. They were only some of the external clan warriors of the Lu family. The county guardians in the city were all warriors of the Lu family. Every realm is as difficult as climbing up to the sky. Looks like the old saying is right. There were more than 300 warriors, but Lu Li sensed none of them were at the Spirit Sea realm. He exclaimed to himself. The living environment of the northern desert was harsh. Everyone worshipped martial arts. All the people in the tribes were the best hunters when they were young. However, only 1 or 2 out of 10 warriors could cultivate Xian energy. Among the hundreds of warriors at the Xianwu realm, only 1 or 2 could make it to the Spirit Sea realm. Xianwu, Spirit Sea, Soul Pond, Fate Wheel, Eternal Realm, Noble Lord Realm, and Human Sovereign Realm. It was extremely difficult to make a breakthrough in any realm. Once a warrior made a breakthrough, his strength would be enhanced by several times. His status and power would be enhanced as well. For example, when Ba made it to the Spirit Sea realm, he was immediately recruited by the Zhao family at the Ice Abyss. Later, he made a great contribution and was promoted to the position of External Clan Patriarch. Granted, there were many External Clan Patriarchs in a big family, but to become a Patriarch, one's status in the family would be greatly enhanced and the resources he could get would be multiplied. "Punk, come here." Lu Yu, one of the Silver Wolf escorts, saw Lu Li standing outside the west gate in a daze. He shouted to him and then said to a man behind him, "Give him a horse." "Oh." Lu Li hurried over in strides. Someone brought him a horse. Lu Li scratched his head. He did not know how to ride a horse. Back in the tribe, he dared not to be so high profile. He had never ridden a horse. "You don't know how? Learn by yourself. Just don't fall and get trampled to death." Lu Yu looked at Lu Li but didn't give him any more advice. Lu Li didn't know what was good for him and insisted on joining the guest clan, which made Lu Yu unhappy. Lu Li touched his nose and hopped onto the horse. He dared not to move, so he could only hold the reins tightly. Da-da-da. After a while, 3 silver wolves dashed out from the west gate. The woman in the lead was wearing silver soft armor and a red cloak. Her face was as pretty as a flower and as delicate as jade. She looked valiant and formidable. The young warriors of the Lu family looked at her with burning eyes. Today, Louis did not wear a fox fur coat. Instead, she wore a soft armor. Her exquisite figure was not covered, and instead, she had a different kind of charm. She glanced over everyone and stopped at Lu Li for a bit. Making sure that he was here, she shouted, "Soldiers are trained for 1,000 days to be used in 1 day. The Lu family has been treating you well. This is the most dangerous moment for the Lu family. Please lend us a helping hand to flatten the frigid cloud mountain." Flatten the frigid cloud mountain. Many people waved their arms and shouted. Their voices resounded in the wild, making Lu Li's ears ring. The horses were restless and almost threw Lu Li off. "All right, let's go. Our destination is the frigid cloud mountain." Lu Li switched to a silver longsword. She unsheathed it and pointed it to the north. She took the lead on her silver wolf and galloped away. The 10 silver wolf escorts behind her immediately followed. Behind them were the 300 warriors of the Lu family. They galloped away in an orderly manner. Giddy up, giddy up. Lu Li did not know how to ride a horse. He was still at the front of the team, but he slowly moved to the back. Looking at the team that was going away, Lu Li became anxious. He hurriedly patted the horse's rump to urge it to move forward. Ba was going to tear him into pieces, and the warriors of the Zhao family would not let him go either. If he were to leave the team, he would die for sure. Even if one did not eat pork, he had seen pigs run. Lu Li followed suit. Finally, the horse managed to gallop away with the team. However, he was a bit miserable. He kept bumping up and down. He fell off several times and had to jump up and get back on the horse again. Ha ha ha, look at that man. He is from the Lu family? How come he looks like a clown? Many pedestrians on the street laughed when they saw Lu Li getting off the horse from time to time, running like a monkey and jumping back on the horse. Warriors were so common in the Wuling County. Who didn't know how to ride a horse? After being thrown off for more than a dozen times, Lu Li finally lost his temper. He raised his hand and slapped the head of the horse. How strong was Lu Li? Otherwise, the horse's head would have been smashed into pieces. Hiss! The horse was in pain. It raised its front hooves high and neighed to the sky. Lu Li fell off again. However, when he got back on the horse was much more obedient this time. It ran more steadily, so Lu Li didn't get thrown off. Go now, or I will slap you to death. Lu Li stared at the horse and shouted in a deep voice. He emitted a faint killing intent. The horse seemed to be scared and behaved. It ran wildly and caught up with the team. Soon, they got out of the North City Gate. Lu Li had mastered some tricks. He swayed his body with the rhythm of the horse so that he would not be thrown off and he would not be as tired as before. Once they were out of the city, Lu Li steered the silver wolf to a stop. She waited for everyone to arrive before glancing back. She looked back when she saw that Lu Li had caught up with her so quickly. Lu Li just told her that Lu Li did not know how to ride a horse, so she stopped at the city gate. She didn't expect that in such a short time, Lu Li had learned it. Also, it seemed that he could control the horse now. Let's go. She didn't say anything. She galloped towards the north again. Hundreds of people followed her closely, running in 2 neat lines. The cold light reflected off the armors formed 2 lines, meandering away. Lu Li is out of the county. He is with Lu Li. They must have gone to the frigid cloud mountain. 2 middle-aged men in civilian attire at the city gate looked at the portrait. They quickly walked into the county and entered a yard. After a while, a goshawk flew out from the yard. It soared into the clouds and flew straight to the north. 2 scouts walked out from the yard. They looked towards the north with their snake-like eyes. One of them sneered and said, "Ha! Ha! Lu Li, how dare you leave the county? You will die even if you go with Lu Li." "Yes." The other one nodded and said, "The frigid cloud mountain is a mess right now. Several families and forces, dozens of tribes are all there. Shan beasts are everywhere. It is said that Patriarch D has taken elixirs and reached the middle stage of the spirit sea realm. It is too easy to kill him. Lu Li can't be with him every day. Can she?" The first one sneered and said, "So what if Lu Li is with him? The Lu family has gone through a great change. So many people have died. We, the Zhao family, have established a relationship with Lord Yu. Maybe in a few months, the Wuling County will be ours." "That's true," the other one echoed. "Even if Patriarch D kills Lu Li by force, what can the Lu family say? Let's go. Our mission is accomplished. We don't have to worry about what happens next." Chapter 31. The 300 horses galloped in the barren mountains, causing the ground to shake. The wind and snow had stopped for some time, but had not melted yet. Luckily, the snow on the road was not thick, so it was not a hindrance for them to walk on. In just 4 hours, Lu Li had completely mastered the horse. He had been observing the warriors of the Lu family in front of him, learning and mastering the knack of riding. One must not use too much strength to ride a horse, but vigor. Not only must the horse cooperate with the rider, but the rider must also cooperate with the horse. In this way, the horse would run with less effort, and it would recognize the new master on its back. At noon, the team stopped to rest by the Blackwoods. The warriors of the Lu family started a fire to roast meat. Lu Li was not familiar with the warriors of the Lu family, and nobody paid any attention to him. He had to sit under a tree and eat the dried meat Lu Ling gave him. In the distance, Lu Yi was surrounded by a group of people, like stars surrounding the moon. She looked over, but didn't ask Lu Li to join her to eat. Lu Li, on the other hand, would not ask for trouble. He ate the dried meat by himself and listened to the chatter of several warriors not far away. This time, those big families are in deep trouble. Yes, yes. In order to get the origin blood essence of the Beast King, they made us suffer. My third brother died in the battle at the frigid Cloud Mountain. The Beast King is comparable to a powerful warrior of the human sovereign realm. Even though this Beast King had just given birth and was at the end of its life, how powerful was it? I think many of the big families have died as well. It has been such a long time, and they still can't kill the Beast King. When can the beast upheaval be suppressed? If this goes on, all the families in the Wuling County will be wiped out. Lu Li gained a lot of information from the chatter of the warriors of the Lu family. He also understood the reason for the beast upheaval. According to the warriors, a Beast King in the Ice Abyss was about to die of old age, but it gave birth, which hurt its vitality. When the super families learned about this, they all swarmed over, trying to get the origin blood essence and the precious materials of the internal pellet in the body of the Beast King. However, they underestimated the power of the Beast King. They were beaten back several times and suffered heavy casualties. The Beast King was enraged. It ordered countless Xian beasts to attack and cause the beast upheaval. Even though there were many powerful warriors of the super families, how could they contain all the Xian beasts? Therefore, he had to rely on the families in the Wuling County, big or small. All the families in the Wuling County had been mobilized. There were also adult males from all the tribes. At the moment, they formed several lines of defense on the frigid Cloud Mountain to defend against the beast upheaval. Beast Monarch, Lu Li couldn't help but exclaim. The Beast King was a Xian beast of the 7th rank. Maybe one strike from it could destroy the Wuling County. The battle between the experts of the super families and the Beast King was a spectacular and terrifying scene. After resting for an hour, the group set off again. This time, they only stopped at dusk. There was a huge mountain in front of them, like a natural moat. According to the warriors of the Lu family, this was the frigid Cloud Mountain. After crossing the frigid Cloud Mountain, they would be in the territory of the Ice Abyss. A few silver wolves galloped over from afar and exchanged a few words with Lu Yi. Lu Yi waved her hand and said, "Let's go to the Cold Cloud Canyon. Our mission this time is to guard the canyon for half a month." Lu Yi led the group along the winding mountain path. When the sky was completely dark, the group arrived outside a canyon. There were many tents and many warriors of the Lu family. Horrifying. Facing the torch, Lu Li looked around and was secretly shocked. Bloodstains and bones of Xian beasts were everywhere at the entrance of the canyon. The boulder ground at the entrance of the canyon was full of scratches. Clearly, many horrifying battles had taken place here. Many warriors in the camp were badly wounded. Some had broken hands and feet. Naturally, there were people who came to settle down the warriors of the Lu family. Lu Li was assigned to a big tent. The smell of herbs filled the tent. 5 wounded people were lying on the ground. They didn't pay any attention to Lu Li when they saw him. Lu Li ate some dried food. He didn't care about anything else. He sat on the bed with his legs crossed and started to cultivate. For him, every minute and every second was precious. Every bit of improvement in his fighting capacity would increase his chances of survival. After cultivating for half the night, Lu Li fell into a deep sleep. At dawn, noises came from the canyon along with the roars of Xian beasts. Luli got up and looked outside. He saw more than 20 warriors of the Lu family at the entrance of the canyon, fighting against the Xian beasts that were roaring and rushing out. Luli was not a warrior of the Lu family. He was only here to participate in the assessment mission. Therefore, nobody organized for him to join the battle. Luli thought about it and ate some dried meat hastily. He carried his Heaven Kylan sword and rushed towards the entrance of the canyon. The assessment mission was to kill 100 Xian beasts of the first rank or one of the second rank. Clearly, the Xian beasts that came out this time were all of the first rank. Luli should be able to kill them easily. He could run into danger at any time. Who knew if there'd be any accidents? Luli wanted to finish the mission as soon as possible. Soon, he arrived at the entrance of the canyon. He saw Lu, Yi, and Patriarch Hong nearby. There was also a middle-aged, powerful warrior of the Lu family. Judging from his qi and energy, he should have reached the Spirit Sea realm. However, they didn't make any moves. They just watched from afar. "Lady Yi, I want to join the fight." Luli walked over to Lu, Yi, and asked. The latter nodded slightly. Luli immediately rushed towards the entrance of the canyon like a ferocious tiger. Woo, the canyon was not wide. Only more than a dozen Xian beasts could pass through side by side. From afar, Luli could see that the inside of the canyon was full of Xian beasts. All of them were big black wolves. These wolves were different from regular ones. They had sharp horns on their heads, and there were some bone spurs on their backs. Their tusks were especially long. They were twice the size of regular wolves, comparable to the silver wolf that Lu Yi was riding on. Iron spur wolf. This was one of the more common Xian beasts. Luli had seen them before. Of course, if he ran into one, he would run away as soon as he could. The reason was that the iron spur wolves would either not come out at all, or when they did, there would be at least more than 100 of them. If he were surrounded, he would die for sure. Luli rushed over and squeezed into the crowd. He saw an iron spur wolf howling towards him. He mobilized his Xian energy, swung his Heaven Kylan sword, and cut at the wolf's head. Bang! Luli had more than 11,000 pounds of strength. Now that he used his Xian energy, his strength was increased by several thousand pounds. Plus, the Heaven Kylan sword weighed more than 2,000 pounds. Therefore, this cut was so powerful that it smashed the iron spur wolf away. Also, its head was smashed in the middle and turned into a pile of rotten meat. Nice! A warrior of the Lu family cheered loudly. He was also in the middle stage of the Xian martial arts realm, but it was difficult for him to deal with the iron spur wolf. As soon as Luli arrived, he killed an iron spur wolf. Without a doubt, Luli had a powerful reinforcement, which greatly reduced the pressure on him. Lu, Yi, and the others were all paying attention to this side. She and Old Hong both sighed. The Divine Sea Realm Lu family outer hall elder frowned and asked, "Miss Yi, this young man is quite strong, and he is also at the middle stage of the Xianwu realm. He is a good seedling. Why haven't you recruited him into the outer hall?" "It's not just not bad." Lu Yi shook her head and said, "I reckon that it took him less than a month to cultivate his Xian Qi to the middle stage of the Xian martial realm. His talent is very terrifying." The outer hall elder's eyes flashed with even more doubt. Elder Hong explained, "It's not that young mistress doesn't want to recruit him, but this kid only wants to join the guest hall. No matter how we persuade him, he won't agree. You don't know how to tell good from bad." The outer hall elder's eyes turned cold, and he snorted and said, "Without the family's resources to nurture, what future can there be no matter how talented he is? This kid is too stupid." Spirit Sea, Soul Pond, Fate Wheel, Everlasting Realm. The advancement of any realm was extremely difficult. For example, condensing the Spirit Sea. If there was help from a big family and precious pellets and mystical grasses were given, the speed of condensing the Spirit Sea would be greatly increased. On the contrary, it would be very difficult to collect mystical materials by oneself. Without the help of mystical materials, condensing the Spirit Sea would be very difficult as well. There were many warriors of the Xianwu realm in each tribe, but the number of powerful warriors of the Spirit Sea realm was pitifully small. For example, Deba was the only warrior of the Spirit Sea realm in the Delong tribe. It was because of the lack of resources. Why did Deba want to join the Zhao family and be ordered around by the Zhao family? It was also because the Zhao family had resources that the Delong tribe didn't have, which could speed up his cultivation and make him stronger. He is really stupid. Lu Yi sighed again and said helplessly, if he insists on doing things his own way, I won't care about him anymore. If he is assassinated by Deba, he has only himself to blame. P.S. Collect, collect, collect. Remember to collect when you see it. Chapter 32. Outside the frigid cloud valley, Luli was ferocious beyond belief. Every time he waved his Heaven Kylan sword, an iron spur wolf would be wounded or killed. He didn't know any Xian skills, so he relied on his terrifying strength and the 2,000-kilogram Heavenly Kylan blade to hack and slash. Although this Heaven Kylan blade was broken, it was still a peerless treasure blade. It was made of a unique material and was exceptionally sharp. It could cut through iron like mud. Luli had a freakish swordsmanship. The speed of his moves was so fast that even if he was carrying the Heaven Kylan sword that weighed more than 2,000 pounds, he could make 3 to 5 moves in every breath. Of course, he did not use his full strength when fighting the Iron Spur Wolf. Every time he slashed twice, the Iron Spur Wolf would either die or be injured. Less than an hour, Luli had killed 27 Iron Spur Wolves. He was much faster than the warriors of the Lu family next to him. Even warriors at the peak of the Xianwu realm were not as fast as him. Hundreds of Iron Spur Wolves' corpses were piled up at the entrance of the valley. One of the warriors of the Lu family was bitten to death, and several were injured. The Iron Spur Wolves finally retreated into the valley and disappeared. Retreat. Clean up the battlefield. Louis shouted in a low voice and turned into her own tent, no longer paying attention to it. Elder Hong sent people to collect the wolf corpses to treat the injured warriors of the Lu family. Luli stepped back with his saber in his hand. The external clan patriarch of the Spirit Sea realm walked over and said with a solemn expression, "Your name is Luli?" Luli wiped off the blood on his face and nodded. "Yes, my lord. I am Kai Hui, one of the external clan elders of the Lu family. You can call me Elder Kai." The external clan patriarch was more than 40 years old. He was tall and sturdy, wearing the silver armor of the Lu family. He had a long saber in his hand and looked imposing. He stared at Lu Li and said, "Come with me." Lu Li followed Patriarch Kai to a big tent. Patriarch Kai went in and sat on the main seat. He looked at Lu Li and asked, "Punk, how much do you know about cultivation?" Lu Li touched his nose embarrassedly and said, "Not really. I only know the realms of cultivation. I know a bit about the Xianwu realm." "Yes." Elder Kai nodded and said, "You are now in the Xianwu state and have just entered the door of martial arts. When you reach the peak of the Xianwu realm, you will need to condense the Spirit Sea and break through to the Spirit Sea realm." Luli understood. He nodded and looked at Patriarch Kai. The latter paused for a moment, then said, "Once all the meridians in the body are opened and the profound energy is abundant, you can use the profound energy to condense the divine sense sea." It was easy to say, but very difficult to do. Out of 1,000,000 ordinary tribe martial artists, only 1,000 can successfully condense the divine sea. Do you know why? Luli was more than happy to have someone explain to him about cultivation. He cupped his fists and said, "I don't know. Please enlighten me, Patriarch Kai." Luli's attitude made Patriarch Kai look better. He explained, "It is easy to build Spirit Sea, but it can collapse easily. Without a good technique or precious pills, the chances of successfully condensing the deity sea will be very low." Luli suddenly understood. Patriarch Kai stood up and continued, "As for trying to reach the Soul Pond realm from the Spirit Sea realm, it is even more difficult. The Soul Pond was a pond built in the soul. The soul was the foundation of a human being. Not to mention breaking through the realm, the soul could easily be destroyed. Therefore, to break through to the Soul Pond realm, precious pellets and herbs of the soul were needed. Each of these pills and spirit herbs is worth an astronomical price, comparable to the accumulated wealth of a tribe for 100 years. The Fate Wheel realm is about cultivating the Fate Wheel. I think you have heard about it. One Fate Wheel for a warrior can increase his life by 500 years. A warrior at the peak of the Fate Wheel realm has 3 Fate Wheels and has 1,500 years of life. But you may not know this. The amount of mystical materials needed to cultivate one Fate Wheel is at least 30% of the wealth accumulated by the Liu family over the years. If 3 warriors of the Liu family were to cultivate Fate Wheel, then the Liu family would become penniless at once. Also, the chance of the 3 warriors to cultivate Fate Wheel is less than 10%. In other words, all the wealth of the Liu family could not produce one warrior of the Fate Wheel realm. Luli was shocked. Nobody taught him about cultivation before. This was the first time he had heard of this. He was shocked. He knew that the path of Wu Dao was difficult, but he didn't expect it to be this difficult. How many mines, how many mountains of herbs, how many resources and wealth did the Liu family that had dominated the Wuling County for 100 years have? Only 3 warriors at the peak of the Soul Pond realm could reach the Fate Wheel realm 3 times? And this was the Fate Wheel realm. How many resources would the Eternal realm, the Noble Lord realm, and the Human Sovereign realm need? Could the wealth of 1,000 or even 10,000 of the Liu family be enough? Patriarch Kai said nothing. After Liu Li calmed down, Patriarch Kai continued. Do you understand now? Without the support of a big family, no warrior can achieve anything on his own. When you are young, you can cultivate the fastest. But how can you get so many resources by yourself? By the time you get enough resources, you will be old. It is almost impossible for you to reach higher realms. If you want the support of a big family, you must be loyal to the family. There is no free lunch in the world. Big families cannot waste resources on a guest warrior who may leave the family at any time. So, if you want to reach higher realms and get more power and status, you have to join the external clan of a family and pledge your loyalty to the family. Do you understand? Patriarch Kai finally revealed his purpose after a long talk. Luli understood, but he could only force a smile, cupped his fists, and said, Thank you for your guidance, Patriarch Kai. I will think about it seriously. Luli's words were clearly perfunctory. Patriarch Kai's expressions turned awful. He waved his hand and said, Then do what you want. Later, you'll be free to fight. Luli walked out with his Heaven Kylan sword in his hand. He went back to his own tent to rest and digest the shocking news brought by Patriarch Kai. After an hour, there came another roar of Xian beasts from the valley. Luli rushed out with his saber in his hand and continued to fight. He had just killed 27 Xian beasts. If everything went well, he could finish the assessment in 1 or 2 days. By then, he could go back to the county to hand in the task. Once he entered the county, his safety would be guaranteed. After all, he was now the guest warrior of the Liu family. Diba could not openly attack him in the county. This time, Louis did not come out to observe the fight. Patriarch Kai did. He organized dozens of people to stop the Xian beasts. It was still iron spur wolves that rushed out of the valley. Luli was experienced in fighting this kind of Xian beasts. He could easily kill one iron spur wolf in 1 or 2 moves. Their speed was too fast. More than 20 iron spur wolves were killed. The outside of the valley was filled with dead bodies. The wolves retreated, and Luli retreated to take a rest. This time, there was a long interval between the wolves. They attacked again at dusk. Luli went out to fight again. He was so ferocious that many Liu family warriors had a whole new level of respect for him. 83. When the wolves retreated, Luli retreated with excitement in his eyes. He had already killed 83 iron spur wolves, and he was not injured at all. If everything went well, he could finish the assessment and go back to the county tomorrow. Luli's treatment had improved because of his bravery and fighting skills during the day. At night, someone brought him grilled meat and liquor. Luli enjoyed a hearty meal and sat on the bed with his legs crossed to cultivate. He was still cultivating the 7th energy channel. He had only opened up more than half of it. It would take him another day or two to completely open it up. Luli cultivated until midnight. Just as he was about to go to bed, there came a noise outside along with countless wolves' howls. After a while, Patriarch Kai shouted, "Wolf King is leading a team to attack. Everyone fight!" Just as Patriarch Kai finished his words, several miserable cries came out along with many roars of terror. Luli hurriedly rushed out of the tent with his Heaven Kylan sword in his hand. Oh no, the line of defense is broken through. Luli looked into the distance. In the dim light of the night, he saw countless iron spur wolves had rushed into the camp. At the forefront was a huge wolf king with a height of more than 3 feet. It was unstoppable. Its ferocious chi and energy enveloped the entire camp. There were people guarding the entrance of the valley day and night. Now, it was broken through by the Wolf King. More iron spur wolves swarmed over. At this moment, there were at least more than 200 iron spur wolves. The wolves in the valley were still coming. Block the entrance of the valley. Otherwise, if all the wolves get out, we will all die. Patriarch Kai roared and rushed towards the Wolf King with his saber in his hand. Lu Yi clenched her teeth and shouted to Patriarch Hong and the others, "Someone, come with me to block the entrance of the valley." Chapter 33. Luli followed Lu Yi and Patriarch Hong. Many warriors at the peak of the Xian Wu realm followed them. There were at least 40 or 50 of them. There were too many wolves. With the Wolf King leading the pack, the wolves at the back would definitely be fearless. Their charge would definitely be frighteningly powerful. It was extremely dangerous to intercept the wolf pack at the entrance of the valley. These dozens of people might not be able to return. However, as the most distinguished lady of the Lu family, Lu Yi would lead the charge. How could the warriors of the Lu family shrink back? Dozens of people slashed and killed along the way. Lu Yi, Elder Hong, and a few others wielded their profound weapons. They were unstoppable as they rushed towards the canyon. Luli smashed away 7 or 8 iron spur wolves with his Heaven Kylan sword and caught up with Lu Yi. Soon, a group of people arrived at the entrance of the canyon. Old Hong let out a shrill roar, and his long saber danced in the sky. The dark force on the saber shone brightly, and his thin body was shrouded in white light. He used a profound Xian skill, and in one move, he actually sent 4 to 5 iron spur wolves flying, and even pushed back a few iron spur wolves behind him. "Block it! Don't let a single iron spur wolf get past." Lu Yi no longer used the beautiful purple whip. She held a sharp sword and rushed to the front line. She was also at the peak of the Xianwu realm, and her fighting experience was not bad. The key was that she was full of treasures, and her Xian skills were obviously more advanced than the average warriors of the Lu family. She fought 3 iron spur wolves alone, but she did not retreat at all. All right. Elder Hong and Lu Yi's outstanding performance slowed down the wolf charge. The mouth of the canyon was too narrow. As long as they successfully blocked it, the iron spur wolves behind them would not be able to participate in the battle. Once Elder Kai and his men killed the Wolf King and the rest of the wolves, the situation would be stabilized. Luli was standing right next to Lu Yi. He didn't brandish his Heaven Kylan sword in any fancy moves, just the simplest cuts. His speed was too fast, and his strength was too great. Every time he smashed, an iron spur wolf would be smashed to death. His efficiency of killing iron spur wolves was not any slower than Mr. Hong's. Woo-woo. When the wolves in the canyon saw that the road ahead was blocked, they all looked up to the sky and howled. The Wolf King that was fighting Elder Kai in the distance also howled angrily. All the iron spur wolves in the canyon went berserk, and their attacks became even more ferocious. A warrior of the Lu family was attacked by 3 iron spur wolves at the same time. He couldn't defend himself, and his legs were badly mutilated. Then his head was crushed by the iron spur wolves. He screamed in despair. "Luli, hold him off." Lu Yi panicked. If there was a gap, they would be separated by the wolf pack, and the consequences would be unimaginable. "Out of the way!" Luli was chosen. With a roar, he passed the 3 retreating warriors of the Lu family and rushed forward like a sharp sword. His Heaven Kylan sword hacked at the waist of an iron spur wolf that was trying to rush out. He was cut in half. This iron spur wolf was cut in half at the waist by Luli. Luli did not rest for even a moment. He continued to attack the other 2 iron spur wolves. Seeing that the 2 warriors of the Lu family didn't move, he said angrily, "What are you waiting for? I'll be the main attacker. You guys support me." All right. The 2 of them came to their senses and quickly coordinated with Luli to attack the left and right sides. Luli managed to block 3 or 4 iron spur wolves by himself. His strength seemed to be inexhaustible. Every time he struck, he could kill or injure an iron spur wolf. Kill. If we can hold on this time, we'll get 50 contribution points each. If we die in battle, we'll get 10 times the compensation. Lu, he shouted in a delicate voice. All the warriors of the Lu family suddenly became spirited and their morale was boosted. Regular warriors of the external clan could get 10 contribution points for free every month. Now, they could get 50 contribution points. If they died, the compensation would be 10 times the compensation. How could they not die for it? On the other side, Patriarch Kai had surrounded the Wolf King with several warriors. Clearly, they were gaining the upper hand and suppressing the Wolf King. After a moment of panic, the people in the camp finally stabilized their position. Gradually, they began to fight back. If nothing went wrong, in an hour, all the wolves outside would be wiped out. The situation was stable, but the situation at the entrance of the valley was not so optimistic. The wolves were too ferocious. They kept coming at the Lu family fearlessly. Lu Yi brought 40 or 50 warriors of the Lu family. At least 7 or 8 of them were at the peak of the Xianwu realm. However, in only the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, nearly 10 people had died. Most of the rest were wounded, including Lu Li. Lu Li's shoulders, waist, and thighs were scratched by the claws of the wolves. Blood was flowing out. He had been fighting for a long time, and his physical strength had been exhausted. His attacking speed was not as fast as before. However, the dead bodies of the wolves in front of him had been piled up into a small hill. At least 20 or 30 iron spur wolves were killed by him. His entire body was covered in wolf blood, making him a man of blood. Dude, these are healing pellets. Patriarch Hong threw 2 white pellets to Lu Li. He grabbed them with one hand and swallowed them directly. He even swallowed the wolf blood on the corner of his mouth. Lu Li was bleeding in many places. He knew very well that if he did not treat his wounds in time, he would lose his physical strength even faster. By then, he could be bitten to death by the iron spur wolves if he was not careful. Buzzing. The moment Lu Li swallowed the pellets, the animal tooth pendant on his neck glowed. The glint was very obvious in the dim light of the night. Lu Li noticed the abnormality, but he did not have the time to look at it. The 2 warriors of the Lu family next to him glanced over with curiosity. However, the animal tooth pendant was only glowing. There was no fluctuation of Xian artifact. The 2 warriors didn't pay much attention to it after a few glances. This animal tooth pendant is glowing? What kind of treasure is this? Lu Li could not figure it out, no matter how hard he thought about it. Every time he took the body refinement pellet, he would fall into a deep sleep. Therefore, he did not know that the animal tooth pendant could glow. There were too many iron spur wolves. If he was not careful, he could be bitten to death. Lu Li had no time to think about it. He concentrated on the fight. As time went by, Lu Li soon found a problem, a big one. The wounds on his body had started to scab over. Many injured warriors of the Lu family had taken healing pellets, but they only stopped bleeding. Some of them even twisted their bodies so violently that blood was still oozing out of their wounds. However, Lu Li's wounds were starting to scab over. Is it because of the animal tooth pendant? Lu Li thought about it and tucked the torn robe on his left shoulder into his collar to cover up the animal tooth pendant. Whether it was because of the animal tooth pendant or not, the animal tooth pendant was glowing at the moment. It was better not to let more people see it. If it were a rare treasure, it would be troublesome if others coveted it. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, Luli found that not only his wounds had scabbed over, but his physical strength had also recovered a lot. He felt as if he had just started the fight with inexhaustible strength. "Point!" Luli shouted in excitement. He waved his Heaven Kylan sword and smashed away 3 iron spur wolves in a row. His momentum became stronger again, which attracted the attention of Lu Yi and Patriarch Hong from afar. Lu Yi was wearing a Xian artifact soft armor, so she was not injured. She and Patriarch Hong glanced over and found that Lu Li's shoulder that was scratched had scabbed over. He had been fighting so hard for such a long time, but he had become more valiant. The two looked at each other, speechless. This guy's physique was too abnormal. It was already strange when he took the body refinement pellet. Now, he only took 2 healing pellets for a while, and he was as vigorous as before. What a pity! Soon, Lu Yi's eyes dimmed. Luli was only willing to join the guest clan. Otherwise, with the full support of the Lu family, he might become a powerful warrior. He doesn't know what's good for him. Patriarch Hong, don't give him healing pellets later. Thinking of this, Lu Yi became indignant again. She told Patriarch Hong in a low voice. She had made up her mind to let Lu Li suffer and let him know that without the support of a big family, he would not be able to do anything. Chapter 34. Due to Lu Li's bravery, Patriarch Hong, Lu Yi, and the warriors at the peak of the Xianwu realm, the wolves in the valley could not break through the line of defense. The dead bodies of the wolves in the valley formed a natural line of defense, which slowed down the speed of the wolves and made it easier to defend. Of course, Lu Yi's side suffered heavy casualties as well. Less than 30 of the 40 or 50 people were left. Apart from Lu Yi and Lu Li, who had treasures all over their bodies, everyone else was wounded. Even Patriarch Hong, who was experienced in battles, was injured. Fortunately, the situation outside was completely stabilized. More than half of the wolves were killed. The Wolf King was wounded under the siege of Patriarch Kai and the warriors at the peak of the Xianwu realm. It could die at any moment. There are several lines of defense in front of the valley. Powerful warriors of all the families are gathered there. How did the Wolf King get here? While attacking, Patriarch Kai looked towards the valley with confusion. There were many lines of defense in the frigid cloud mountain. Patriarch Kai's side was the outermost line of defense. They were only responsible for killing the Xian beasts of the lowest ranks. Otherwise, he, a warrior of the Spirit Sea realm, would not be the only one here. The first few lines of defense were all powerful warriors who were responsible for killing the powerful Xian beasts. They had been here for a long time, but this was the first time they encountered a Wolf King at the peak of the second rank. Therefore, Patriarch Kai was worried. Could it be that the line of defense was broken through? Woo, woo, woo. Right at that moment, 2 loud howls came from the valley. The howls echoed in the valley for a long time. When Elder Kai heard this howl, her body trembled, and she immediately cried out in alarm. "Young miss, run! 2 more Wolf Kings are coming." Swish, swish, swish. All the warriors of the Lu family changed their expressions. 1 Wolf King had almost wiped them out. Now there were 2 more? Who could stop them? If they didn't run, they would all die here. Something is wrong. Something big. Lu Yi and Patriarch Hong looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with anger. There were several lines of defense on the other side of the valley with many powerful warriors. Even if the lines of defense were broken through, there would at least be a warning. However, from the appearance of the first Wolf King to the appearance of the 2 Wolf Kings, there was no news. There were only 2 explanations. Either all the powerful warriors of the front line of defense were dead, or someone deliberately let the 3 Wolf Kings come. Retreat. No matter what the situation was, Lu Yi and the others had no way out. They could only escape first, and try to escape as many as they could. Run. Lu Li didn't hesitate. He had killed more than 100 iron spur wolves by now. His mission had been completed. If he didn't run now, he would be waiting for death. Swish! Patriarch Hong led the three warriors at the peak of the Xianwu realm to protect Lu, Yi, and rushed out of the valley. Lu Li followed closely behind. The protection around Lu, Yi was definitely the strongest. Perhaps even Elder Kai would come to protect her. It was the safest to stay by her side. The escorts of the Lu family outside transformed into birds and beasts and ran towards all directions. Lu Yi and Lu Li had just gotten out of the valley when two huge iron spur wolves with a pack of iron spur wolves whooshed out from afar. "Miss, you go first. I'll bring up the rear." Elder Kai roared angrily and sent the first wolf king flying. Then, he fearlessly charged towards the other two wolf kings. He knew very well that if he didn't stall the two wolf kings, none of the warriors of the Lu family would be able to escape. "Elder Kai, take care." Lu Yi let out a sorrowful roar and led Old Hong and the rest towards the left side of the mountain range. The mountain range was actually on the south side. There was no road on the left side, so it would be very difficult to walk. However, if they went towards the south, they would die even faster. How could they outrun the Iron Spur Wolf Kings? Sure enough, the wolf pack ran in a straight line. The warriors of the Lu family that were running towards the south were soon overwhelmed by the wolf pack. Miserable cries came one after another. The night was hazy, so they couldn't see clearly. Lu Yi and the others didn't dare to look too long. They just ran into the mountains. Lu Yi and the others had made the right choice. The mountain range was hard to walk on, but it was much safer. In the eyes of the Iron Spur Wolves, all humans were the same. Naturally, they wouldn't go after them. There was not enough light at night, and there were many thorns and poisonous thorns in the mountains. Apart from Lu Yi, the rest of the 7 or 8 people were suffering. However, no one dared to stop. There were so many wolves, and they were endless. Soon, the wolves would spread to an area with a radius of more than 30 miles. They were still bleeding. The wolves would follow the blood trail and kill them. Blood trail. Patriarch Hong remembered this. He quickly handed out healing pellets to stop the bleeding. He looked at Lu Li, who was following behind, and handed him 2 healing pellets as well. Lu Li had just taken 2 healing pellets. The wounds on his body had already scabbed over. However, there were some more wounds on his back. He only took 1 healing pellet after he took it. After a while, he quietly looked at the animal tooth pendant hidden in his collar. It was giving out a faint white light again. His wounds were healing quickly. After running for a couple of miles, the wounds had completely scabbed over. "Look for a cave nearby. We will hide in it. We cannot outrun the wolves at night." Patriarch Hong said in a deep voice after they went on for another couple of miles. Lu Li thought it made sense. Wolves' vision was not affected at night, and their noses were very sensitive. If they didn't find a place to hide, the wolves might catch up with them soon. The group immediately spread out and looked for a cave nearby. Not long after, a warrior's shout came from the southwest. "Over here!" They ran toward the sound and found a cave. It was narrow and deep, and nobody knew where it led to. "I will go and explore the way. You go and find some boulders to block the entrance." Patriarch Hong was experienced. He went into the cave alone with his saber in his hand. The others looked for boulders nearby. Lu Li found a boulder on the left side of the entrance. He tied the Heaven Kylan sword to his back and ran towards the cave with the boulder in his hand. "This boulder is nice." The boulder Lu Li brought back was enough to block the cave. Lu Li nodded slightly. They waited at the entrance for the result of Patriarch Hong's exploration. Woo! Before Patriarch Hong came out, there came some howls of wolves from the distance. The howls were getting closer and closer. Clearly, they were coming towards them. "Go in." Lu Li blocked the entrance. Seeing that the situation was getting out of hand, Lu Li had to make up her mind and let everyone into the cave. Lu Li dragged the boulder and blocked the entrance of the cave. Then he waved his Heaven Kylan sword and hacked at the entrance of the cave. A lot of gravel fell and blocked the entrance of the cave completely. Phew, phew. The group of people sat at the entrance and breathed heavily. Since the entrance was blocked, there was no light inside. It was so dark that it was frightening. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a muffled sound suddenly came from the cave. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they rushed into the cave one after another. However, they saw Hong Lao flying back and shouting from afar. There are profound beasts in the cave. Stone rats, we are in big trouble this time. Squeak, squeak. Many noises came from inside the cave. Since it was too dark inside, they could not see the monsters clearly. They could only hear strange noises and muffled sounds of running. Release your Xian energy. A warrior of the Liu family shouted in a deep voice. Everyone mobilized their Xian energy and looked into the distance with the help of the dim light. What they saw made their hearts heavier. The cave was full of rats, swarming towards them like a pack of wolves. The rats were gray in color. Each of them was as big as a human head. The sharp fangs in their mouths reflected a cold glare. There was no end to them. Nobody could tell how many there were. Stone rats. They were Xian beasts of the lowest rank. They only relied on their sharp fangs to attack. However, their defense was amazing. Their gray fur was slippery and hard to hit. Chapter 35. Woo-woo, the howling of the wolves outside was getting louder. Clearly, it was unrealistic to run out now. Judging from the howling, there were at least dozens of wolves. Dozens of iron spur wolves was not a problem. The problem was that once the fight started, more and more wolves would be attracted. What if the Wolf King was attracted? If they could not get out, then they had to fight to the death. They had to defend against the stone rats first and wait for the wolves to retreat before they could go out. How can there be stone rats in a place like this? Don't stone rats like to live in the Redstone Mountains? A warrior of the Liu family murmured in confusion. Stone rats usually lived in a redstone mountain in the north. That mountain was full of stone rats, but no stone rats were seen in other places. Why would there be a group here? Liu, Yi, and Patriarch Hong had no time to think about this. Liu, Yi ordered, take turns to attack and repel the stone rats. Liu, Yi rushed forward. Patriarch Hong and another warrior also started to fight. The cave was too small. At most, 3 people could fight at the same time. The others had to stand behind and take turns. Luli stood at the back. He listened for a while to make sure that the wolves were not attacking the boulders. He looked into the cave and saw that Liu, Yi, and the others could fend off the stone rats. He sat down in the cave and took out some dried meat and water from the jute bag on his back to eat to replenish his strength. The other 4 looked at Luli eagerly. They did not have the habit of bringing food with them. There were plenty of supplies in the camp. They could only watch Luli eat. After fighting for half the night, everyone was exhausted. They had used up a lot of physical and mental strength. Luli thought about it and took out all the dried meat and water. He handed them over and said, "That's all. Share it." They looked at Luli in a more pleasant way. Nobody knew how long they would be trapped in the cave. The dried meat and water might be able to save their lives. Everyone split up and ate some dried meat and water. Then they sat down with their legs crossed to cultivate Xian energy and restore their strength. Stone rats were Xian beasts of the lowest rank. Liu, Yi, and the others could deal with them easily. However, they were hard to kill. They could only repel the stone rats one by one. If the Rat King did not appear, they would not be in danger for the time being. After an hour, Liu, Yi, and the others retreated. 3 people took their place. Luli was at the back. He paid no attention and continued to cultivate and recover. There was still some dried meat and water left. Liu forced herself to eat some in order to replenish her strength. The pack of wolves outside still hadn't retreated, howling incessantly. Fortunately, the boulder blocked the entrance of the cave, preventing the wolf pack from entering. Everyone was relatively safe. An hour later, it was Lu Li's turn. Lu Li cultivated for 2 hours and recovered some of his Xian energy. He carried the Heaven Kylan sword and rushed up. As soon as he got on the field, the situation was completely different. The stone rat's speed wasn't fast, and its attacks weren't fierce, but its defense was abnormally strong. Lu Li specialized in dealing with this kind of abnormal defense. With one swing of his saber, the stone rat would be smashed away. If it didn't die, it would be seriously injured. With the addition of Lu Li the pressure on the other two was greatly reduced. Luli became braver as the fight went on. He even began to fight back. He pressed his way into the cave and smashed away the stone rats one by one. All right, the two people next to him knew what to do and began to support Luli. The two of them followed Luli's left and right sides and fought back against the horde of stone rats. All right, Patriarch Hong cheered. Luli, drive the stone rats back to their nest. Kill them until they don't dare to come out. Luyu, you go and help Luli. Kill. Luli roared. Now that the stone rats were retreating, how could he miss such a good opportunity? He had rested for 2 hours, so his physical strength and state were at their peak. Now, he led the other three and attacked fiercely, forcing the stone rats to retreat. The stone rats were scared of Luli. The Heaven Kylan sword in Luli's hand was too sharp, too strong, and too fast. Every time Luli attacked, a stone rat would be killed or injured. The cave was narrow and deep. Luli led Lu Yu and the other two to attack along the way. They had been walking for an hour and killed hundreds of stone rats, but they still hadn't reached the end of the cave. Suddenly, the cave in front of them widened, and there was a fork in the road. There were 3 tunnels. The group of stone rats didn't retreat here. They guarded the small entrance and kept making strange sounds. What's in the cave? Rare treasures or top-level elixirs? Luli, Lu Yu, and the others looked at each other in confusion. The stone rats were guarding the tunnel, which meant that there must be something inside that the stone rats wanted to protect. Otherwise, they would keep retreating. Are there really treasures? Lu Yu's eyes lit up. Usually, there would be Xian beasts guarding the treasures. The stone rats usually lived in the Redstone Mountain, so it was strange for them to appear here. Now, the situation was even more confusing. Let's kill our way in and see what's in there. Lu Yu's suggestion was agreed by the other two. Luli was curious as well. Who didn't want to get some treasures? He took a few deep breaths, nodded, and said, let's kill our way in. You guys follow me. Luli led the other 3 and attacked fiercely. Lu Yu and the other 2 also risked their lives for the treasures. The stone rats were screaming and retreating. Eventually, they all retreated into the small tunnel. The entrance of the tunnel was so small that only one person could get in. Lu Yu and the others were afraid that there was a rat king inside, so they didn't dare to enter ahead of time. Luli had to grit his teeth and stay in the front by himself. He hacked and slashed with his Heaven Kylan sword, forcing the stone rats to retreat. After more than 30 feet, the tunnel suddenly widened and a huge cave appeared. There was an entrance at the top of the cave. Bright moonlight poured into the cave through the entrance, lighting it up. Treasures of heaven and earth. Luli's eyes lit up. He saw a mystical grass with 7 leaves in the middle of the cave. The mystical grass glowed under the moonlight, and there was a faint white mist surrounding it. One look and Luli could tell that it was not an ordinary thing. There were not many stone rats in there, only about 100. At the moment, those stone rats were gathered in a corner, not near the mystical grass. Something is wrong. Luli squinted his eyes. The stone rats guarded the cave with their lives, but they didn't protect the mystical grass. Instead, they gathered in the corner? Could there be more precious treasures in the corner? Luli, what is going on in there? Why are you stopping? Luli blocked the entrance so that Lu Yu and the others could not get in. Naturally, Luli shouted anxiously. Luli thought about it and rushed into the cave. Then he ran directly towards the stone rats. He was sure that there must be more precious treasures among the stone rats, far more valuable than the mystical grass with 7 leaves. While running, Luli shouted, there is a precious mystical grass over there. I will go and distract the stone rats. You guys find a way to pick the mystical grass as soon as possible. Don't damage it. Luli rushed towards the stone rats in the corner. Lu Yu and the other 2 rushed into the cave. Their eyes were immediately attracted by the glowing mystical grass. They glanced at the stone rats in the corner and found that Luli was already fighting. Naturally, they dared not to waste any more time. They all rushed towards the mystical grass with 7 leaves. Boom, boom, boom. Luli was afraid that Lu Yu and the others would notice him, so he attacked with all his might. He waved his Heaven Kylan sword wildly, wounding and killing the stone rats along the way. Soon, he rushed into the crowd of stone rats. With the help of the dim light from the Xian energy and the hazy moonlight, Luli glanced through the crowd of stone rats. However, he did not find any treasure or mystical grass. However, he did find a special stone rat. This special stone rat was very small, only the size of a fist. It was covered with white fur without any impurities. It did not look like a stone rat, but more like a kitten. Why are these stone rats surrounding a small white beast? Luli raised his Heaven Kylan sword high and was about to cut down at the small white beast. The stone rats next to him roared angrily and attacked Lu Li in a frenzy. On the other hand, not only did the small white beast not move, but it was also staring at Lu Li's neck. In its jewel-like eyes, there was a bit of fear and passion. The small white beast was so adorable. It did not have any ferocious chi and energy of Xian beasts. It was harmless to humans, just like a pet. Luli followed the white beast's gaze and found that because of the fight, the animal tooth pendant on its neck was exposed. Luli had an idea. He swung his Heaven Kylan sword to the side and smashed away several stone rats. He did not attack the small white beast. Whoosh! At this moment, the small white beast suddenly moved. It turned into a white shadow, and it was so fast. Luli only saw a flash of white light. The small white beast had sneaked into the small jute bag on his back. P.S. Announcing a new book group. The old monster was in the group. Eternal Dragon Emperor Readers Exchange Group 294665690. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.